Gentlemen, on behalf of the trustees, management, faculty, staff, and students of the Madras Sanskrit College, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. I'm Madhuvanti, and I take the pleasure of being your host for today's conference titled Sanskrit and Beyond. Today, we are privileged and honored to have amongst us very prominent personalities to grace this important conference. We welcome our chief guest, Mr. Suresh Raman, Vice President and Global Head, Tata Consultancy Services, Chennai. Our eminent speakers, Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari, researchers and founders of Bharat Gyan. Professor Sampadananda Mishra, Director, Center for Human Sciences, Rishihood University, Sonpat. And last but not the very least, Shri Krishnan Venkatraman, Senior Advocate. I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you once again. And most important of all, we have students of classes 11 and 12 present here along with their teachers from Vidya Mandir Mylapore, AMJN School Meenambakam, Shankara Higher Secondary School Adayar, and Chettinad Vidyashram MRC Nagar. We thank the schools for having spared their time for the students and teachers to attend this important conference. We also extend a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Maheshwari Natarajan for helping us coordinate with the schools and their managements. The iconic Madras Sanskrit College, founded by an illustrious personality and an eminent jurist, the late Honorable Shri V. Krishnaswamy Iyer, has completed a mammoth 118 years of service to society in the field of Sanskrit. Today is a landmark in the history of this great institution, as we host this prestigious Sanskrit conference and launch the new identity of our digital campus, a mark of our commitment and intent to spread, educate, and apply this great language across the globe and in our own country. We shall begin this morning with Vedic chanting by the students of the Madras Sanskrit College to invoke the blessings of the Almighty. This will be followed by the rendition of the Tamil Thai Varthu. May I please request the audience to rise for the invocation?
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ प्रातरग्निं प्रातरिन्द्रगुं हवामहे प्रातर्मित्रावरुणा प्रातरश्विना प्रातर्भगं पोषणं ब्रह्मणस्पतिं प्रातः सोममुतरुद्रगुं हुवेम प्रातर्जितं भगमुग्रगुं हुवेम वयं पुत्रमदितेर्यो विधर्ता आर्द्रश्चिद्यं मन्यमानस्तुरश्चिद्राजा चिद्यं भगं भक्षीत्याह भगप्रणेतर्भगसत्यराधो भगेमान्धियमुदवदतन्नः भगप्रणो जनयगोभिरश्वैर्भगप्रणृभर्नृवन्तस्याम उतेदानीं भगवन्तस्यामोत प्रपित्त उत मध्ये अह्नाम् उतोदितामघवन् सूर्यस्य वयं देवानागुं सुमतौ स्याम भग एव भगवागुम् अस्तु देवास्तेन वयं भगवन्तः स्याम तन्त्वा भग सर्व इज्जो हवेमि स नो भगपुर एता भवेह समध्वरायोषो नमन्तदधिक्रावे वशुचगे पदाय अर्वाचीनं वसुविदं भगन्नो रथमिवाश्वावाजिन आवहन्तु अश्वावतीर्गोमतीर्न उषासो वीरवतीः सदमुच्छन्तु भद्राः घृतं दुहाना विश्वतः प्रपीना यूयं पात स्वस्तिभिः सदा नः ॐ
We shall now have the traditional lighting of the kuthu vilakku. May I please call upon our chief guest for today, Mr. Suresh Raman, Vice President and Regional Head, Tata Consultancy Services, Chennai, and the trustees of the Madras Sanskrit College to please come up for lighting this kuthu vilakku. May I please call upon CM Gopal Swami sir, Shri Prabha Sridevan, and Madras Sanskrit College to lighting the Mr. Ramesh Mahalingam will now present our chief guest with a token. I now invite on stage the Principal of Madras Sanskrit College, Dr. S. Arunasundaram, Siromani, to deliver the welcome address. Dr. S. Arunasundaram is the head of Department of Vyakarana at the Madras Sanskrit College.
श्रीमद् देशिकपादेभ्यः सशक्तिभ्यो नमो नमः सदा शिष्टात्मचिद्व्यक्तिकारणेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः இன்றைய தினம் நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரியினுடைய ஒரு பரிணாம வளர்ச்சியின் குறியீடாக இருக்கக்கூடிய டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் அதனுடைய ஒரு அங்கமாக வளர்ச்சி பணியாக இன்றைய தினம் இந்த நிகழ்வானது நடைபெற இருக்கிறது. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய அனைத்து பெருமக்களுக்கும் மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை வருக வருக என தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரியினுடைய அறங்காவலர்கள் மற்றும் நிர்வாக குழுவை சார்ந்தவர்கள் அவர்கள் சார்பாக அனைவருக்கும் இந்த வரவேற்பினை நல்கக்கூடிய ஒரு வாய்ப்பினை பெற்றமைக்காக மனமார்ந்த நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு, நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரி, இந்த கல்லூரியானது ஸ்ரீ வி கிருஷ்ணசுவாமி ஐயர் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் எஜுகேஷன் ட்ரஸ்ட் என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய அற நிறுவனத்தின் வாயிலாக நடத்தப்படக்கூடிய கல்லூரி. இந்த கல்லூரியானது 1906ஆம் ஆண்டு துவங்கப்பெற்று பின்பு 2017ஆம் ஆண்டு இப்பொழுது நாம் பார்க்கக்கூடிய இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் என்ற இந்த அமைப்பானது 2017ஆம் ஆண்டானது துவங்கப்பெற்றது. இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸினுடைய ஒரு வளர்ச்சியாக இன்றைய நிகழ்வானது நடைபெறுகிறது. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்காக வருகை தந்திருக்கக்கூடிய சிறப்பான ஒரு விருந்தினராக வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய நமது சுரேஷ் ராமன் அவர்களுக்கு, அவர் டாடா கன்சல்டன்சி சர்வீசஸ் அதனுடைய வைஸ் பிரசிடெண்ட்டாகவும் ரீஜனல் ஹெட்டாகவும் இருக்கக்கூடிய அவருக்கு அனைவரின் சார்பாக வருக வருக என மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறோம். அதேபோல் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியானது ஒரு மாநாடு என்ற ரீதியில் அமைக்கப்பட்டு இதனுடைய ஒரு மையப்பொருளாக, சம்ஸ்கிருத மாநாட்டினுடைய மையப்பொருளாக சான்ஸ்கிரிட் அண்ட் பியாண்ட் என்று சம்ஸ்கிருதம் வடமொழி மற்றும் எல்லை தாண்டிய அதன் ஒரு விஸ்தரிப்பு என்ற ஒரு கருத்தில் இந்த மாநாடானது அமைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. இதற்கு விசேஷமான ஒரு தங்களது கருத்துரைகளை தெரிவிப்பதற்காக வந்திருக்கக்கூடியவர்களுள் மிகவும் முக்கியமானவர்கள் 3 நபர்கள். பெங்களூரில் இருந்து வந்திருக்கக்கூடியவர்கள் ஸ்ரீ டி.கே. ஹரி மற்றும் அவரது துணைவியார் டி.கே. ஹேமா ஹரி அவர்கள். அவர்கள் இருவரையும் வருக வருக என மனமார்ந்த ரீதியில் வரவேற்று, அடுத்து சம்ஸ்கிருத துறையில் பிரசித்தமானவர் சம்பதானந்த மிஸ்ரா என்பவர். நமது டி.கே. ஹரி அவர்கள் சம்ஸ்கிருதத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு முக்கியமான குறியீடுகளாக இருக்கக்கூடிய சில விஷயங்களை பற்றி பேச இருக்கிறார். அவர் நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரிக்கு பல வருடங்களுக்கு முன்பு வந்திருந்து முக்கியமாக சங்கல்பம், தினந்தோறும் நாம் செய்யக்கூடிய சங்கல்பம், அந்த சங்கல்பம் ஆரம்பம் முதற்கொண்டு மமோபாத்த என்று எதற்காக ஒவ்வொரு நாளும் நாம் நமது அந்த வருஷத்தை, பாரத வருஷத்தை வர்ணிக்கக்கூடிய ரீதியிலேயும் நிலம் மற்றும் காலம் இந்த 2 தொடர்பான நிகழ்வுகளை நாம் ஏன் செய்கிறோம் என்று மிக அருமையாக ஒரு 15 வருடங்களுக்கு முன்பு நமது கல்லூரியில் ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு சொற்பொழிவை ஆற்றினார். அதே ரீதியில் இன்றைய தினம் அவர் சொற்பொழிவை ஆற்ற இருக்கிறார். அவருக்கும் அவர் துணைவியாருக்கும் மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு, அதேபோல் சம்ஸ்கிருத துறையில் டாக்டர் சம்பதானந்த மிஸ்ரா அவர்கள் டைரக்டராக திகழ்கிறார்கள். சென்டர் ஆஃப் ஹியூமன் சயின்சஸ் என்று ரிஷிஹுட் யூனிவர்சிட்டியில் அவர் டைரக்டராக திகழ்கிறார்கள். அவர்கள் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் டெக்ஸ்ட் இன் தி ஏஜ் ஆஃப் டெக்னாலஜி என்று இன்றைய காலகட்டத்தில் சம்ஸ்கிருத நூல்களுடைய தாக்கம், அவைகளுடைய உபயோகம் எவ்வாறு இருக்கிறது என்று அவர் சொல்ல இருக்கிறார். சம்பதானந்த மிஸ்ர மகோதயானாம் கிருதே ஸ்வாகதம் சுஸ்வாகதம் இதி அஸ்மாகம் பக்ஷதः நிவேதயாமः. ते निदेशकाः सन्ति तत्र सेण्टर् फार् ह्यूमन् सैन्सस् इति तस्मिन् विश्वविद्यालये निदेशकाः सन्ति. तेषां संस्कृतक्षेत्रं प्रति तेषां योगदानं तावत् अतीव श्लाघनीयं विद्यते. अतः तेषामपि वार्तादिकं श्रोतुं वयं सर्वेपि उत्सुकाः स्मः इति तेषां कृतेपि स्वागतं निवेदयामि. அடுத்து மூன்றாவதாக ஒரு சிறப்பு சொற்பொழிவு ஆற்றுவதற்காக வந்திருக்கிறார் கிருஷ்ணன் வெங்கட்ராமன், அட்வொகேட் கிருஷ்ணன் வெங்கட்ராமன் அவர்கள் நமது தர்மசாஸ்திரத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அம்சங்களை கொண்டு இன்றைய தினம் நடைபெறக்கூடிய வழக்குகளில் அந்த வழக்கு தொடர்பான தீர்வுகளை தர்மசாஸ்திரங்களின் அடிப்படையில் எவ்வாறு செய்ய முடியும் என்பதை சொல்வதற்காக அவர் வந்திருக்கிறார். அவருக்கும் நாம் மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறோம். அடுத்து இந்த மாநாட்டில் முக்கியமாக ஒரு சில நிகழ்வுகள் நடைபெற இருக்கின்றன. அதில் நமது டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் தொடர்பாக ஒரு தனித்துவம் வாய்ந்த ஒரு துறையை ஒரு சைட்டை ஆரம்பிக்க இருக்கிறார்கள். அதை துவங்கி வைப்பதற்காக மிஸ்டர் சுரேஷ் ராமன் அவர்கள், வைஸ் பிரசிடென்ட் அவர்கள் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அவருக்கும் மற்றும் ஒரு முறை வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அடுத்து இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ், இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸுடைய மைக்ரோ சைட் என்ற ஒரு அமைப்பு, அது ஒரு சைட், அதை லான்ச் செய்ய இருக்கிறார்கள். நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரியினுடைய கிருஷ்ணசுவாமி ஐயர் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் எஜுகேஷன் ட்ரஸ்டினுடைய ட்ரஸ்டிகள் அரங்காவலர்கள் அதை துவங்க வைக்க இருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்களுக்கும் மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அடுத்து இந்த ஒரு அமைப்பு தேவைதானா என்பதை பற்றி ஒரு சில விஷயங்களை சொல்கிறேன். நமது சென்னை சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரி 100 வருடங்கள் பழமையானது. ஏறத்தாழ 110 வருடங்கள் கழித்து இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் என்பது 2017ஆம் ஆண்டு துவங்கப்படுகிறது. இது தேவைதானா ஒரு சந்தேகம் நமக்கு எல்லாரும் வரக்கூடியது சகஜம். என்ன காரணம் என்றால், ஒரு பழமையான கல்லூரி, சம்பிரதாயத்தை சார்ந்த கல்லூரி, சம்பிரதாயத்தை சார்ந்த இந்த கல்லூரியில் இது போன்ற ஒரு மாடர்ன், ஒரு புதுமையான ஒரு விஷயம் தேவைதானா என்ற சந்தேகம் வரும். இது தொடர்பாக ஒரு சில விஷயங்களை நமது தமிழ் பண்டைய நூல்களிலேயும் சம்ஸ்கிருத நூல்களிலேயும் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு சில கருத்துக்களை நான் தெரிவித்து மறுபடியும் ஒரு முறை அனைவருக்கும் நமஸ்காரங்களோடு கூட வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்து அமர இருக்கிறேன். அதில் தமிழில் தொல்காப்பியத்தில் ஒரு வரி இருக்கிறது, பழையன கழிதலும் புதியன புகுதலும் என்று தொல்காப்பியத்தில் ஒரு வரி இருக்கிறது. இயற்கையில் பழமையான விஷயங்கள் எல்லாம் நம்மை விட்டு அகல்வது என்பதும் புதுமையான விஷயங்கள் எல்லாம் புகுவது என்பதும் இது இயற்கையான ஒன்று என்று தொல்காப்பியம் என்று நன்னூல் குறிப்பிடுகிறது. தொல்காப்பியத்தில் குறிப்பிடும் பொழுது பிரிது பிரிதாகும் என்று தொல்காப்பியத்தில் ஒரு வரி இருக்கிறது. பழைய விஷயத்திலிருந்து புதிய விஷயங்கள் சேர்ந்தால் அது புதியதாக தான் கொள்ளப்படும், வேறு ஒரு விஷயமாகத்தான் கொள்ளப்பட வேண்டும் என்று தொல்காப்பியத்தில் ஒரு விஷயம் இருக்கிறது. எனவே இது என்னவென்றால், நன்னூல் குறிப்பிடும் போது இது இயற்கை என்று குறிப்பிடுது. பழையன கழிதலும் புதியன புகுதலும் காலத்தினுடைய ஒரு கட்டாயம் என்று நன்னூல் குறிப்பிடுகிறது. ஆனால் வடமொழி நூல்கள் என்ன குறிப்பிடுகின்றன என்று சொல்லும்பொழுது, காளிதாசர் புராணமித்தேவ ந சாது சர்வம் நச்சாபி காவியம் நவமிதி அவத்தியம் என்று அவர் குறிப்பிடுகிறார். பழமையானது என்ற காரணத்தினாலேயே அனைத்தையும் நாம் கையாள வேண்டும் என்பது கட்டாயம் இல்லை, புதியது என்ற காரணத்தினாலே அவைகளெல்லாம் நிராகரிக்க வேண்டும் என்ற கட்டாயமும் இல்லை என்று குறிப்பிடுகிறார். இது ஒரு புறம். ஆனால் மணிவாசகர் திருவம்பாவை என்ற நூலில் குறிப்பிடும் பொழுது இறைவனை பழமைக்கும் பழமையானவனே புதுமைக்கும் புதுமையானவனே என்று குறிப்பிடுகிறது. எனவே இந்த இரண்டு அம்சங்களும் சேர்ந்து இருந்தால் அது மிகவும் சிறப்பானதாக இருக்கும் என்பது தெரிகிறது. இதனை புராணம் என்ற வார்த்தையே நமக்கு எடுத்து காட்டுகிறது. புறா என்றால் பழமையானது, நவ என்றால் புதுமையானது. எனவே புராணம் என்பது பழமையாக இருந்தாலும் புதுமையாகவும் இருக்கிறது என்பதை குறிப்பிடுகிறது. நமது இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் ஆனது அதே முறையில் புதியதாக இருந்தாலும் கூட பழைய விஷயங்களை எல்லாம் விடாத ஒரு ரீதியில் இருக்கிறது என்பது இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸினுடைய ஒரு சிறப்புத்தன்மை. அதுக்கு என்ன காரணம் என்றால், அந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அம்சங்கள் இரண்டாக இருக்கின்றன. மாணவர்களுக்கு புதிய ரீதியில் அனைத்தையும் சொல்லித்தர வேண்டும் என்பதற்காக பிரவேசிகா, தக்ஷதா போன்ற புதிய கோணத்தில் பல பாடங்கள் எல்லாம் அமைக்கப்பட்டு நடத்தப்பட்டு வருகின்றன. இது ஒரு விஷயம். பழைய விஷயங்களையும் விடக்கூடாது என்ற காரணத்திற்காக இதே டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் மூலமாக வேதாந்த பரிபாஷா பாடம் நடத்தப்பட்டு வருகிறது. அதேபோல் விசார சாகரம் என்ற பழமையான பாடம் நடத்தப்பட்டு வருகிறது. லகு கௌமுதி நடத்தப்பட்டு வருகிறது. அதேபோல் ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸஸ் எல்லாம் ஒளிபரப்பப்பட்டு வருகிறது. அதேபோல் நமது தமிழக அரசினுடைய 10ஆம் வகுப்பு அந்த பாடங்கள் எல்லாம் ஒளிபரப்பப்பட்டு வருகிறது. இதுபோல் பழைய விஷயங்கள் புதிய விஷயங்கள் ஆகிய இரண்டினுடைய ஒரு புராணமாக, பழமையாக இருந்தாலும் புதியதாகவும் புதியதாக இருந்தாலும் பழமையை விடாமலும் ஒரு அமைப்பு இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் கொண்டிருக்கிறது. எனவே சம்ஸ்கிருத கல்லூரியினுடைய ஒரு வளர்ச்சியாக டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸும், அந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸினுடைய மற்றும் ஒரு சிறப்பான அடியை வைக்கக்கூடிய அளவில் இந்த நிகழ்வும் இருக்கிறது. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு வருகை தந்திருக்கக்கூடிய அனைத்து அறங்காவலர் பெருமக்களுக்கும், சிறப்பு உரையை ஆற்ற இருக்கக்கூடிய அனைத்து பெரியோர்களுக்கும், பல பள்ளிகளிலிருந்து வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய மாணவர்களுக்கும், ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களுக்கும், எங்களது கல்லூரியை சார்ந்த பேராசிரியர் பெருமக்களுக்கும், மற்றும் இருக்கக்கூடிய விருந்தினர்களுக்கும் வருக வருக என மனமார்ந்த வரவேற்பினை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு அமர்கிறேன். நமஸ்காரம்.
Thank you, Dr. Arunasundaram, for that lovely insight into our rich heritage of this great institution. Taking off right from there, we wish to now present The Journey, a small vignette by Team Poach's Theatre.
Just one more chair. Good morning, everyone. Namaskaram. Adallam pannakudadu. Okay, before we start, let's start with a prayer. I also recently found out that one of the prayers of Sanskrit College is a prayer which is very relevant to what we are doing today, of doing things together. In fact, even more special is it was one of the prayers in my school as well. So, if you want to join me in the prayer, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll start the prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Mavitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. What are you doing here?
What are you talking about?
You should be in college. What are you wasting your time here?
It's a holiday, uncle.
Oh, it's a holiday. So you're going to waste your time more.
Well, not exactly. I mean, I wanted to talk to you.
All right.
So you were part of our college, right?
Yes.
I was wondering if I could know more about the past and the history of the college.
The history of the college, that's a very fascinating story, and I have to take you back in a journey in time. Are you ready for that?
I'm all yours.
All right, how much do you know about the history of our college?
Well, the history of the college, not so much.
All right, so our college was founded by a very, very, very great man. He was a lawyer and a judge. All right, so I sent you his picture. There he is. Before I said anything, there he is. You know who he is. We can't talk about the story of this college without talking about this man.
Isn't he our founder?
That's right. He's a founder, Sri V. Krishnaswamy Iyer. Right? He was born in a small village near Tanjavur in 1863. He was very learned. He was dynamic and he had a very stylish disposition.
Yeah, he surely looks a bit.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story, Mr. Krishnaswamy Iyer. He was academically brilliant. He moved to Madras, he became a lawyer, and he had a very successful, thriving practice. Now, when you're young, you have a successful, thriving practice, earnings come along with it. You're young, let's say you have a successful, thriving practice, and you make a lot of money. What will you do with it?
Oh, I can only imagine the parties over the weekend.
You'll have a lot of parties, right?
Yes.
That's why you're not V. Krishnaswamy Iyer. That's why this man had a greater vision for people, for the country. With his earnings, along with talented Ayurvedic physicians, he actually started the Sri Venkatramana Ayurvedic College and Dispensary. So that Ayurvedic knowledge and Ayurvedic practices carry on in the length and breadth of the country.
That's quite interesting. Can
Absolutely.
you tell me more?
Yes. Now it was British times, right? There was a bank those days called the Arbuthnot Bank.
Okay.
Okay. And those days there was no mobile phone, so probably we should switch it off. In 1907 there was no mobiles, right? So Arbuthnot Bank was a big bank, and a lot of Indians had put in a lot of money there, and a lot of Indians lost a lot of money there. A lot of Indians keep losing money, even nothing has changed from 1907, right? But a lot of Indians lost a lot of money in Arbuthnot Bank. What was Krishnaswamy Iyer by education, I told you?
He was a lawyer.
Yes. So what did he do was, he didn't just leave it at that. He took on George Arbuthnot, the founder of the bank, to court and had him prosecuted.
An Englishman.
Absolutely. Back then an Indian got an Englishman prosecuted. It's not just as simple as that. George Arbuthnot was a right-hand man of the governor at that time. And those days the governor actually had a lot of value. Right? So it was a big thing. He actually took him on and he won the case. Now when something like that happens, reputations go high, right? So a lot of people wanted to invest with him and wanted to work with him. That's when he thought, why should we rely on a British bank? Why don't we have our own bank? You know, the seed of independence was in these kind of things that came up. So they started what is called the Swadeshi Bank, which is still in existence. You've seen it.
I don't think I've seen a Swadeshi bank.
How many of you here have seen Swadeshi Bank here? You've all seen it actually.
Really?
Today it's called the Indian Bank.
Oh.
Is there, right? In fact, if you go to the corporate office Indian Bank even today, the bust of Sri Krishnaswamy Iyer is there in the lobby.
That's magnificent, uncle. Please continue. Tell me more.
Well, heart of hearts, he was an educationist, right? So he felt that Sanskrit and Oriental education, it was dwindling, it was not going the way it should have gone. So he got together a set of intellectual minds. They created a committee, and an idea of the Sanskrit college was mooted in December 1905. Now let's think about it. An idea of a college is mooted in 1905 December. How long does it take for such ideas to actually get implemented?
I don't know. Probably a decade or so.
Probably a decade, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about 1905, 1906, right?
Yes.
December 1905, idea was mooted. February 1st, 1906, the college was up and running.
Are you talking in a span of 2 months?
In a span of 2 months. He was not just a visionary, he was an action-oriented visionary. That is what was very special about him.
Crazy to think how the college developed through those years.
Absolutely.
I need to know more about how it developed further on, uncle, after that.
But think about this. The whole thing happened in 1907. We were not independent then.
Oh, wait. So that means he should have been part of the freedom movement.
Absolutely. He was an active participant in so many of the Indian National Congress sessions those days. He was very close to Lala Lajpat Rai, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. I'll tell you something else. He was one of the main people who welcomed Swami Vivekananda back to India. And he was one of the key people involved in organizing a grand reception for him in our Madras. You've seen the Vivekananda house there?
Yes, I have.
He was one of the most important people who welcomed him actually.
That's quite crazy to think about. Further, please, more.
Well, with the kind of achievements he had and the kind of reputation he had, it was not shortly that he was appointed the judge of the High Court and he was elected as a member of the Executive Council. So the star was just shining up for him. But like a lot of great men who achieved a lot of great things in young ages, unfortunately, before he went for a meeting in Delhi in 1911, he passed away.
I mean, considering if he should have been an incredible person if he had to achieve all this by the time he turned 48.
Absolutely, an absolute legend.
Crazy. So,
But his legacy continued.
oh, did it?
Yes.
Tell me.
Yes, so the first principal of a college, Mahamahopadhyay, Professor S. Kupaswamy Shastriyar.
I've heard that before.
Mahamahopadhyay?
Yes.
You want to know what it is? You're a student of Sanskrit, right? Let's do a quiz. What does Upadhyaya mean?
Teacher.
Mahopadhyay?
Great teacher.
Correct, sir? Mahamahopadhyay?
I don't know, the teacher of teachers.
Tala of Tala, captain of captains. He was the MS Dhoni of Sanskrit education. They call him the Bhishma Pitama of Sanskrit education. He was a legend too. And the beauty is, even those 120 years ago, right? He had a vision where, as our principal was saying, he married the traditional education system of Sanskrit with modern scholarships. He thought beyond even then. That is why he was so special. Our college actually had a certificate program called the Visharada those days. Vedanta, Mimamsa was taught. But even then, a small section was teaching English, even those days.
Back then.
Back then, they were teaching English. Crazy. And then, I'll tell you, the college just didn't stop. It's not just about teaching. They also achieved a lot of things. 1907, the college was actually recognized by the government of Madras, and it was a big deal those days. And 1912, they actually got affiliated to the University of Madras, which is a very, very, very big deal, because from then grants and aid started coming into the college. Okay. That's not just it. 1915, something phenomenal happened. One of the greatest human beings ever walked into our college.
Who are you talking about?
The great Mahatma Gandhi himself visited the college. And he saw what Krishnaswamy Iyer had done. No, I was not there at the time, but I know it happened. He loved what Krishnaswamy Iyer did and called him a Mahapurusha. Mahatma Gandhi called Sri Krishnaswamy Iyer a Mahapurusha. Not only that, yeah, you were talking about non-social media days, right?
Yeah.
And still this fame of Sanskrit college spread across. Rabindranath Tagore was so impressed with it, he thought this was one of the best institutions for Sanskrit education in India.
My God.
That is the level they were at, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how the college accomplished so many things back then. But what about the recent years, uncle? Like, after that, I want to know how the college developed.
But before that, even more brilliant things happened. 1917 was even special for a year. I'll tell you why it is very special. It might not look like a big deal today. We are talking about 30 years before independence. We are talking about 107 years before now. 1917, the college had the vision to realize that English is going to be critical for this country. And they appointed specialized trained professors just to teach English in 1917. Right?
Yeah.
To teach them their lesson in their language.
Yeah.
And 1925, Sahitya Shiromani, one of our flagship courses, was introduced. Life just didn't stop with that. 1961 was even more special. You talked about the fact that how did we expand, right?
Yes.
How did we go forward, right? Yes. 1961 was very seminal because so many courses came. Veda Bhasha course came. Vyakarana Shiromani came. Jyotisha Shiromani. Look at the areas they're going into. Vyakarana. Debates, discussions, linguistics. Jyotisha Shiromani. And 1977, the government of India recognized our college and called our institution Adarsha Samskrita Patashala. Institute of Eminence in 1977.
Brilliant.
And 1989-90, the college doors were open for women to come and study Sanskrit. And 1999, Nyaya Shiromani. Law. End of the day, he was a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Look how it's expanded, right? And you asked me about the recent years?
Yes, I did.
Now, 2004-2005, another special year. What happened was, Madras University increased the syllabus. They made it more depth. They made the course, Samskrita Shiromani course became a 7-year course. Expanded and added English, Hindi, and even computer science was added into the syllabus.
That's like a major transformation.
Imagine, they keep telling that Sanskrit is traditional, right?
Yeah.
Traditional, we continued being traditional, but expanded to the modern world. Like
Crazy.
a principal was saying, right? They got into the modern world. Computer science came into our being.
Thank you, uncle. You know, we had a century, right, just now?
No, I'm not that old, not century and all. What are you saying?
No, I'm not talking about your age. Like, we traveled through time from 1905 till 2005 now. Like, I've traveled through time with you back all those years.
And we are now 118 not out and scoring well, all sixers. IPL is nothing to the kind of scoring rate that we have, right?
True. Now that you have my attention though, uncle, I have a suggestion. So you know that we started the digital campus just recently, right?
Yes, that's right.
In our college. So our idea was to take this great human's vision beyond the boundaries of social construct. Because right now in modern India, people have a huge thirst for learning.
Yes.
So just imagine if we present this opportunity to these kind of people, they can start self-studying using modern technology. I mean, Sarvebhya Samskritam is our motto after all.
Sarvebhya Samskritam, Sanskrit for all. I'm happy you used the word Samskritam and not Sanskrit. Well done.
Thank you.
Actually, what you're saying is actually making me feel very proud of what we've achieved till
Oh,
now.
I feel it too, uncle. You know, being so well versed in Sanskrit, it opens so many doors for you. I mean, you can study things from the past, Vedanta, Mimamsa, Tarka, Ayurveda, Jyotisha, and so much more.
Absolutely.
With the technology that we have today, we'll no longer be limited by geographical boundaries when it comes to sharing our love for this language.
Absolutely. In fact, you're giving me an idea. I can just imagine a day where, why a day, maybe a week, maybe 3-day conference, digital, everybody in the world logging into Sanskrit College, having conferences on, having tarkas, having discussions on Vyakarana, on all the education that we've had, quizzes, conferences, certifications, scholars from across the world in Sanskrit,
Yep.
logging in and participating.
What you're talking about is actually, it's a hackathon.
Hackathon. No. We don't encourage that unethical things. We don't want to hack into other people's computers. What are you saying?
No. You got me all wrong, uncle. It's not hacking into other people's computers. It's a hackathon. It's what you just said.
Oh, having discussions
Yeah.
for a hackathon? Okay, that's what I want. I want people to log in and that's what we need to have, right? I know the Sanskrit College is a physical building, but it's got so much of history and culture, and that will always be Sanskrit College for us. But imagine a Sanskrit College virtually in every continent, every city, and everybody comes through. It says that we are part of Sanskrit, we are alumni of Sanskrit College digitally across the world.
Beautiful. Yep.
Will that
And
not be great?
It would, and I think that's where our generation plays a vital role. Because considering the modern technology that we have, I mean, look at it: social media marketing, LMS sessions, LMS systems, Zoom sessions, the internet, cloud computing, all that. We can take the wisdom of the past and infuse it with the possibilities of the future. I mean, isn't that where the magic lies?
Absolutely. Holding on to tradition but adapting to modern times from 1907,
Yep.
right? And that's what we should do. And I think I'm on board for this.
Thank you. Yes.
And
please.
I think all this would not have been possible without the teachers that we have, isn't it?
Yes. And take the things forward.
The teachers we've had, the teachers we have, and it will continue because of the system that they've created, right? So I think we should ask all the people here, especially for the digital campus, which is phenomenal. I think we should all come together and take the digital campus across continents so that future generations continue to hold on to the roots, but at the same time travel in the future, adapt themselves. And they've also said, you would have read it, that Sanskrit is the perfect language for computer science chip programming because of its grammar. Right? And research is going on in that. So we as a group should take this together and take it across the world through the digital initiative. In fact, I would like to have a world when we actually say we are a global village, we are a Vasudhaiva Digital Sanskrit Kudumbakam. Right? So that's it from both of us, from Drayden and me. Karthik, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. All the best at Sanskrit College, and Namaskaram. We are from Puchu's Productions, and thank you very much.
Big round of applause for Team Poachers Theatre. Mr. T.M. Karthik, Mr. Drayden Nicholas, and Mr. Denver Nicholas. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful tracing of history of the Madras Sanskrit College. With multiple cultures existing in every nook and cranny of India, Sri Krishnaswamy Iyer embarked on a mission in Madras to preserve the Gurukulam system from the invasion of Western education and help the professors flourish. With our rich and wonderful legacy, his successors too have the strong belief in imparting education based on the traditional methods of intensive study delivered to the highest standards in the classical works and Shastras. On that very rightful note, I call upon Sri Ramesh Mahalingam, Trustee, the Madras Sanskrit College, to address the gathering. Sri Ramesh Mahalingam holds a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Michigan. He has worked in Frito-Lay and PepsiCo for 20 years. His last stint was Chief Financial Officer for PepsiCo, India's pet manufacturing unit in Manali, Chennai. Mr. Mahalingam is now retired and serving as trustee in the Madras Sanskrit College. Incidentally, as many of you may be aware, he is the great-grandson of the founder of the Madras Sanskrit College, Sri Ramesh Mahalingam.
Namaskaram. very interesting skit that was done by this group. Not only fun, but it also makes you think. But one of the things that struck me was Krishnaswamy had started the college, and within a few years he passed away. But that burden was carried on by members of his family. There was Balasubramanian Iyer, his son, Chandrasekhar Iyer, another of his sons, and B. Madhavan, who is his grandson. And Sri B. Madhavan, on the day he retired from the railways, the next morning he was at the Sanskrit college to run the... It is from dedication of people like this that we are alive and kicking today. And we have to be thankful. One phrase which always comes to my mind is we are standing on the shoulders of giants. These are the giants, and they have taken us to a higher level. Now we have to make something out of it. It's not only these family members, but also the principals of this college, who in the illustrious line Sri Arunasundaram is today. E.S. Balakrishna Shastriyal was the teacher of Mahapariva. So you can imagine the levels of greatness these people had. Seshadrinathan Swamigal, our own Krishnamurti Shastrigal, so many Mahamahopadhyayas in our college, and every one of them has given the light for the whole community with their education and their experience. Our principal has eloquently outlined the significance of Sanskrit, but I'd like to go a little deeper into the question. Why Sanskrit? And why not say English or German or any other language? Throughout history, Sanskrit has been the basis of science and technology in India. From Kashmir to Kerala, Sanskrit was the language of choice for the science. Ranging from mathematics and astronomy to engineering, regional languages were used for everyday communication of the common people. But Sanskrit was necessary for science and technology. Thousands of books have been written in all aspects of science throughout the country. Let's take a minute, step back a little, and reflect on Israel's experience. In 1948, Israel got independence just like us, just like we did around the same time. At that time, only 1% of the population of Israel was talking Hebrew, which is their traditional cultural language. The other 99% were speaking Aramaic, Yiddish, a lot of other languages. But the Jewish people, the Israeli people made a decision on that day that they will have Hebrew as their national language, Hebrew as their main language, and they dedicated their whole country to Hebrew. Today, everything in Israel, all science, all communication, all correspondence is done in Hebrew. So they have been able to take a 1% population speaking language and make it a successful language. So why can't we do it for Sanskrit? Similarly, Japan conducts its complete science, research, communication, everything in Japanese. They are not relying on English. They don't need English. They don't need German. They are able to do it in Japanese. So why can't we do it in Sanskrit? So as we proceed, we need to ask ourselves these questions. In the new Bharat, reconnecting with our roots is a clear call everywhere. Thousands have embraced this call by joining our digital campus. They are demonstrating great thirst for Sanskrit knowledge, a thirst that goes beyond geographical and cultural boundaries. Our motto, Sarvebhyaha Samskritam, which was referred to earlier, embodies our commitment to inclusivity and diversity, welcoming students from all walks of life. Our students include people from India and abroad, north and south, men and women, foreigners and NRIs. We teach to all students alike, irrespective of their religion, age, gender or caste. While many have completed our basic and advanced levels of Sanskrit, the question arises, what comes next? See, if you are just learning from a small tutor on the internet, you learn the basic Sanskrit, but then you have nowhere to go. That's where our college comes in. We are unique in this area. We go beyond just learning a language. Learning Sanskrit opens doors to a vast and rich storehouse of our cultural heritage. Vedanta, Vyakarana, Jyotisha, Nyaya, Yoga, Ayurveda, Ganitam, Natya Shastra and much more. Our digital campus extends its offerings to encompass these diverse fields, guiding you on a journey through Sanskrit and into many of these fields. So just because you've completed your basic Sanskrit, you can now venture into all of these areas. We have made studying easier for everyone. We offer self-paced as well as interactive courses. We offer our courses in English, Tamil, even Hindi mediums. Telugu and Kannada medium courses are also not far away. We also keep improving our offerings. Some of our courses in the pipeline are Mimamsa Paribhasha, Ramodantam, self-paced, Natya Shastra, Tantra Prakashika, Sarvadarshana Sangraha and so on. And this is just the beginning. Courses in Ayurveda, Vastu and Advanced Jyotisham are also on the anvil. We are in the process of developing technology courses in Sanskrit with an entrepreneur partner. Courses such as robotics, drone technology and AI, all in Sanskrit, will be offered in the future. The existing courses themselves will be redefined using AI technology. Don't be shocked if the Sanskrit teacher on your next course is a robot using AI. These new technology courses will open job opportunities for Sanskrit students, besides the traditional top jobs of teaching and Vaidigam. I wish to conclude by stating the grand vision of the Madras Sanskrit College: to be a global leader in imparting authentic knowledge of the Sanskrit language and serve as a treasure trove of deep knowledge base. We will be a very important part of India's modern knowledge society. Together, we will take you to Sanskrit and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh Mahalingam, for that very thought-provoking and inspiring speech. We now invite Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari to give us a multimedia presentation on Samskrtam and Science of Science. Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari, husband-wife duo, are founders of Bharat Gyan, a pioneer in Indian civilization knowledge studies, conceptualized 25 years ago with a mission to raise awareness about the knowledge, practices, and global connects of the Indian civilization over millennia from an Indic perspective. They started Bharat Gyan after a 20-year stint in management and IT and extensive global travel to explore other cultures. Bharat Gyan's Indic narrative showcases the scientific, industrial, and social aspects of the Bharatiya civilization, besides highlighting its spiritual aspects, and shows how it is the ethos of their twinning which had sustained flourish for the civilization across millennia. The couple have collated several hours of multimedia content and published several books, blogs, and short films. They are the visiting faculty for Indian Civilization Studies at universities in India and overseas and conduct online courses. They are the knowledge partners to the Indian Knowledge Systems Division of the Ministry of Education. Let us welcome Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari to talk to us on Samskritam and the science of science. I request Mr. Ramesh Mahalingam to please honor Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari.
This one connected.
Did you change any other thing?
No, ma'am. Change it.
No, no, it's still.
Hello, hello, hello.
Into the 1 minute.
Trust I'm audible. Thank you. First of all, we'd like to thank the members of Madras Sanskrit College for inviting us for such an important program. Thank you so much. Mr. Ramesh Mahalingam must be here in this corner probably. And I'd also like to thank Professor for remembering the talk that we gave, one among many talks in Sanskrit College about 15 years ago on Sankalpa. Very nice of you, Professor, to recall that after 15 years. Very kind of you. We really enjoyed it and we look at it as one of the talks that you gave many years ago. Thank you so much. And it's our pleasure and honor, my wife Hema and myself, to be here. And they said Bangalore. I'm born in Mylapore, Radhakshan Salai. So I'm as much literally 100 meters from Sanskrit College is where I was born and I lived the early period of my life. So very much a Mylapore Vasi. Thank you. So the topic of the day given to us is about Sanskrit, sign of science, very important. And we said also we'll try to show you a slide in the end about Sanskrit or Samskrit, because we prefer to use that Sanskrit. Because the fundamental we say, we anglicize it and use the word Sanskrit. There's a small issue that all of us should be aware of because we are all involved with this language. How much of us know, but we are involved with the language. The word sans in the English language means without. Sans something, without something. That's what it is. Sanskrit, when you hear the sam means it is with, inclusive. So Sanskrit is an inclusive language, not without. The point is, Tamil sonna vellakara vaai vandu tongue move alla for him to say Samskritam. So he called it Sanskrit. But for us all, namakku naak nalla valanji varum namakku, so we can say Samskritam. That's the way. There's actually a way how the language term itself came about. That if you have the time, we'll show you that slide too in the end. It's there in our website for all to see.
So today, actually we are literally taking coal to Newcastle. All of you are part of Samskrtam College. But we thought at this juncture, maybe just take a few minutes to appreciate what this language really embodies for us. And we do know that there is lot of, Samskritam has been the language for communicating science. Like Sri Ramesh ji just mentioned, science has been communicated with Sanskritam, but we also see science itself in Sanskritam, and that's what we're going to see now in a few minutes, the science of science in Sanskritam. And it is not just science, but also science of communication in Sanskritam. We already know, and he listed that so many subjects are there. We have specific Samhita for medicine, we have Charaka Samhita for surgery, we have topics for Vimana, astronomy, mathematics, and very interestingly, these are very broad subjects, right? But you will see that there are some very, very specific subjects also on which you find text. We all know about Vaiseshika, of course. There are works on Akshara Lakshana, which are about maths, on Shabda Shastra, about sounds and echoes, literally sound engineering, which is one of the hot topics today. Shilpa Shastra, again, we know. Then Parakaya Pravesha, about even teleporting. Okay, we had the youngster who wanted to know what all we can do. So Sanskrit and beyond. So this is the beyond that is already there. And then about science of photographic scanning.
Just 1 minute, since you said beyond, to go beyond is important to know what is it we have and where we are. If we try to go beyond without knowing where we are and what we have, that beyond will not have the gravitas. It's very important to be strong in your own personal area. Then when you grow beyond, you grow with that strength. That's very important, to grow in strength.
And Sri Ramesh ji's subject, mechanics. So, then optics, Amsubodhini, one of the very, very rare texts.
All this is...
Then about clouds, what all have we not studied about? Then about energy, then of course gymnastics, poison. And this is so interesting, 200 kinds of drawings just by looking at a person's nail or hair, looking at some feature of a person. You're trained to draw the person. And this science, actually, therefore, it's not just drawing. But imagine how much of Ayurveda and yoga and so many other aspects, about the person's mental makeup and physical body physiology would have to be known for a person to be able to draw just looking at these kind of features.
Today, people talk about calligraphy as a new science that's been there a couple of centuries. This is beyond and beyond that for a couple of millennia and more. That's the difference you're seeing.
So about flower arrangements and food preparations and so on. So fundamentally what we're saying is...
Gastronomy has been a science. So interestingly, if you see today, when Indian knowledge system is being brought back in the policy, it's not being brought back in humanities or arts. It's being brought back through AICTE. That is technical education, because in its wisdom, the policy makers have deemed it right that science is not about only Alankara, humanities, arts. It's also substantially about science. And that is what we need to bring back. That's why very clearly Indian knowledge system is placed in AICTE, in technical education, and rightly so. I think we should appreciate the framers who set it in the right path for it to grow, because Alankara is important, absolutely important, but even more important is the Vijnana, Jnana, Vijnana, the depth of it, going into the depth, specifics.
Because we forget that science also needs language. So all that Alankara is needed for expressing science. And an aspect of a language, if you see, it's that which gives you the ability to express. It has expressions in it to cover the subject that you want to talk about, and also allows you to be expressive enough to reach the other person. So all of this is there in Sanskrit, and therefore it has been chosen as a language for science. But
See, in communication, we have a very important point. What do people try to do in communication? They try to impress. That's how the normal way of communication acts. Let's not try that in Sanskrit. Let's just be Let's be expressive. The impression and the impression will automatically happen. That's a huge, see, it's a fundamental difference. If you try to impress, your effort is trying to impress, not on the solidity of what you have. If you just be expressive, the impression will automatically happen and be much deeper, much longer. That is what our Samskritam is about. In communication, see, again, it's a very technical field. We have mastered that art of communication.
And we all know, all of you especially will know why Sanskrit has been chosen as the language for science. One, as the word itself says, it's well done, it's refined, it's that which has been perfected. It is also context-based, it is coming from nature. We have Sampadananda ji here who has so much to say about that and so motivational. And then also about rule-based and every word having a meaning. So the artha and the padartha. But are these the only signs of the science in Sanskrit again? So,
see, when she said Sanskrit, all of us agree Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages in the world. One of the oldest. I'm not getting into A or B or C. I'm just taking a broader basket of saying one of the oldest languages in the world is Samskritam. That much. Okay. Now, if you're saying this is a job well done, that's refined language, perfected language, then can one of the oldest languages be the job well done, perfected, refined language? See, it almost sounds like an oxymoron. You can't have the early language be the refined one. I think this is an occasion to pause for a moment there to think. That means what? Was there a language prior to Samskritam too, from which evolved Samskritam? Is a question that we'll have to think. I'm sure there are enough scholars here who have wonderful views on this subject and which needs to be debated in an institution of Samskritam. Probably Prakritam, Prakriti, that which comes from nature, evolved into Samskritam. Could be just one option, just placing here in this stage.
So the science, when you say Sanskrit has been used for science and it has been the apt language, so the challenges it would have faced for which it refined itself would have been to communicate the abstract thought, abstract information. How do you communicate that? That would have been a challenge. And also, how do you preserve all the communication that is happening around this abstract knowledge? And therefore, writing has been one of the key important features of Samskritam. And when we say writing, we'll have to then look at all these beautiful symbolisms that we have for writing. We have always used Ganesha. We have had a scribe and we have always gone back to Ganesha as a scribe because scribing is a way to communicate even without being in person. And it is also a means for preserving that communication. And we have symbolized that with Lord Ganesha as one of the earliest scribes who has written along with understanding. I'm sure all of you know the story between Vyasa and Ganesha. We have in Egyptian civilization, we have Tot. And he stands for scribing with observation. It's an ibis, it's a bird ibis. So observing everything, and so today what you know of the Egyptian civilization is because of scribes such as Tot.
Yeah, see, if you go to Europe, not just Egypt, all the Aegean Sea and the Mediterranean Sea area and thereon into the United States of America today, if you ask about the idea of scribe, they will take to the Egyptian scribe. That is probably 2000 BCE. But Lord Ganesha having scribed the Mahabharata, which goes back 2000 years prior to that. So the idea of scribing is very clearly with us. And she's written three things under that. I'll come to the third point. See, our idea of scribing is what? With understanding. A scribe is just not a copywriter who does it without understanding. No, then he's not a scribe. A scribe was one who does it with understanding. And she said so nicely, for the bird, ibis, why does the Egyptian civilization, contemporaneous to our civilizations, why do they show an ibis for it? Because an ibis has got the power of observation. A scribe needs the power of observation. So they limited it to observational skill alone, whereas we gave it the higher pedestal of understanding. That's a key point in ascribing. Now we have shown a third scribe. Okay, anybody knows the name of this particular script? It's very contextual. This third script, she said, guess the script. No, please. No, please.
Look at the no,
Pali, no, please.
Look at the words below with curves.
With curves. How many of you in your house, many of your elders here, in your house, you have a round poof in your drawing room on which you sit on, round poof on which you can sit.
Cane poof.
Cane or cushion or something. What do you call it?
Moda.
Moda. Why is it called moda? Because it's round, curved. This script is all curved, curvy script. Okay? Clue I have given. Modi script. So the script is Modi. That's the script used by the Marathas. That was the official script of the Marathas, was the Modi script. And people families that wrote in that script, who are the Kanakapillai of that script, Karni, Kulkarni of that script, they were all Modis. So here we have one Modi of that family scripting New India itself for us, isn't it? So that is the idea of script. Communication is very important in scripting.
So all these scribes, they were communicating, and so did they have a method when they wrote? So fundamentally, if you look at writing now, so when we are talking about writing, we are talking about preserving the communication, and there are two major variants. One is to preserve the content and the sound and the exact speech, the way it was communicated. So we call it the phonetic way of communicating, of writing. The other one is the semantic, where it is your idea that is important, not necessarily exactly word to word what was uttered. And there we therefore resort to symbols. So we have something like in English we call it the phoneme, and here we have the sememe. So artham becomes important here, where here it is aksharam, that which never dies, the sound never dies.
Sharam. And why do you call it phonemes? She'll come to it a little later, probably in a slide later. We'll watch that. Keyword, phoneme. Why is it called phoneme? Why?
Yes, it's a sound
Why?
unit. We'll
Why is what the question is.
We'll
Agreed.
Something very interesting.
David will come to it a little later. Okay.
So look at the various methods we have had for communicating. So starting with just the sound, and we have delved so much into the science of sound with works on Om, with the shortest being the Mandukya Upanishad. Then we have had the mudras to communicate, and there again we have expounded it with 108 Karanas. Then we have Abhinaya, we have the Rasa therefore, and then we have the music to communicate emotions, and there you have the entire system of Raga. Finally we come, this sound, the I thought, the feeling now becomes words. Wow. And it expresses the thought. The word is just the thought. It is the association in your mind, the thought in your mind which associates with whatever phenomenon or an object. And then here again you have had techniques like symbols, which are in seals,
how
and
many
as
of
well
you
as symbolisms.
How many of you use symbols today for communication?
All
like how? What do you call that now?
Emojis.
Emojis. So today communication methodology is emojis, right? How did the Egyptians communicate? What was their hieroglyphs? Was it also something like emojis? What do you call the Indus Valley, or now more properly called the Sindhu Saraswati script? What is it? That's also a form of rebus. That's also a variety of emojis, but practiced 5,000 years back. So you're coming back to communicating with your emotions through symbols. After 5,000 years of evolution, you come back there. That's again a point to understand. So it's not ancient, because let's not say Sanskrit is an ancient language. No, It's a traditional language, because the moment we in our narrative say ancient, it means old, used illa inimene. No, it's traditional, current, and of value, present, and the coming decades too.
In fact, the word traditional itself denotes the continuity and the relevance. So traditional would be a very good way to refer to all our
Traditional
heritage.
works, not ancient works alone. They have antiquity, but they're also traditional. That's a differential.
Ageless.
Ageless,
absolutely.
traditional. Thank you, sir.
So script, again you have the science of akshara and all the writing, that's where we'll see about phonemes. Then also for bringing out intonations, we have had notations as well. So while we've had oral traditions, we've also had notations.
So look at
as
the 4 points.
swaras.
Sorry, look at the 4 points here. It's unique, it's Bharatiya, it's mastery, it's antiquity. All 4 put together is what this whole cycle of communications. Let's look at the next step of it.
So look at this, for me, the right side. If you look at it, all of these are modes of communication which are in person, live, they happen live, in person, through enactment, through expressions, emotions, and you see a natural progression with nature. They're all
Prakriti,
nature-based.
Prakriti, Prakriti.
It is there with all languages, all civilizations, people anywhere. But look at it from this point onwards, from the thought, where you start showing symbols to express that thought, where you start writing it, and what are you doing in this writing? You are taking a continuous wave of sound. Speech is just a continuous wave. It doesn't say A, B, C, D, you don't have A and B. But this set of people who perfected this, they were able to discern those units in the speech, in the continuous. If you look at speech on your waveform on your phone also, you will just see so many waves. How did they discern that any speech has got these vowels, these consonants? These are the basic units that you have to derive out of it.
She used the
Reduce
keyword
it to.
discern. Look at the keyword discern. As students, all of you will be able to do that.
And that is where you find phonetics coming in.
Again, the word phonetics using a second time. We'll come to that in the next slide.
So all of this, if you see, for preservation, it has gone through with science.
Jnana to Vignana.
So
And a
today-
combination of both.
So today, when you say Sanskrit language, all that you see in writing and all that we are reading and the way it has been expressed, all of that, the grammar, the way it has been formed, because grammar is again what you find it using the phonemes and then coming up with rules on how to join them, how to make words out of it. So all of this is the science that we see in the language itself. So while we have the scientific organization, actually many people, they tend to just look at Tamil like this, the Tamil alphabets, and they say it's very different. But look at it, if you juxtapose it like this, they are not very different at
They're
all.
not at all. Between
And
both,
the
what they call Vadamori and Tenmori, in the structure of organization, there's absolutely same structure.
And then
That is
again,
the key point.
Again, there is another, popular, I would say misconception that between this, I mean, just here you have the 4, but here you have only 1. In writing, but in speaking, you have all the various 4 versions.
Go back. Now here's one point that we say. In English language, all of us to write A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Why can't you say D, X, V, L, Q, M, P, A, R, C, T, U, V? What is wrong? What is wrong? Why not change the order? Is there any rule that you can't change the order? Similar, but in Samskritam, Punjabi, Assamese, Gurmukhi, Sharada, Tamil, Sinhala, can you change the order? Not possible, because it's all zoological, biological, from oral cavity, from your nabi. You can't change an order. But in the English language or Russian language or all other language, there's no need for an order, the supposed order that you have. Because we have the order. Think of it. That's what she's showing you here. Go back one slide. There is order only in the Bharatiya languages where they are structured and written. There's no need for From tomorrow you can write C, D, L, P, Q, R, V, T, Y, Z and then come to A, B. You are not wrong because there's no sequence there. There's no need for the order there. It's got no meaning. We have meaning to our order and it's not based on somebody's rules alone, not somebody wrote with a long beard. It is based on your oral cavity, it's based on your alimentary canal, it's based on your biology. And it's valid whether you are in Myanmar or you are in Thailand or within Assam or you are in the Pashtun language, it's all same. Unique Bharatiya order. So we have order, whereas there we have chaos. That's the fundamental difference clearly. Next point, please.
And this order is what we brought in as our akshara, which today we call in English as alphabets, phonemes and syllables. And why do we call them phonemes? So if you look at it, for all the Western languages, it is they trace their language to Phoenicia.
Where is Phoenicia? Anybody?
I should have put that slide here.
Where is Phoenicia? It's in the East Mediterranean Sea near Damascus. Byblos, next is Phoenicia, Phoenician ports, which is there in our films. Please watch it. Phoenicia is there. So that was the center of knowledge then. Below Greece, east, what's now Syria, that area. So Indian knowledge, both Samskritam and Tamil, went from here along with trade to East Mediterranean coast, from where it spread northwards into Europe. So Phoenicia was the base for them for phonetics. For steel, it was Damascus. For zinc, it was Haifa. And for books, what was it? Alexandria Library. Books, it was a place called Byblos, bibliography, bibliothèque, Bible, book, all that. So they had about 10 ports along the East Mediterranean coast, from which 10-12 subjects that went from Bharat were specialized upon by each of these ports, and from there the knowledge spread.
So Byblos specialized in phonemes, scripting, printing, coming out with written works.
But where
which is why you call that as a Bible.
So where is their source from? They say their source is from Bharat, Inde.
And there are scholars who have traced how during this transfer there were some positions were changed, because of which, while you seemingly see an order, but there is also the little bit of chaos. But then this scientific language has been the basis for understanding and discerning out phonemes or discrete units of sound in a language, and so that it can be scripted.
So when all of you use the term phone, know where it comes from. Phoenicia, phonetics, phonemes,
but
phonogram.
We didn't stop there, Look, we knew that we can write it. Now a spoken sentence can be written. But we went one step further. We also came up with the different media on which it can be written. And this was decided by the need for the medium. So while we had the Veda, which were oral, we had other works like the Upanishad, the sciences and so on, which were written down. And for posterity, you want to preserve it. Of course, these were written on palm leaves and they were repeated every 500 years. And then for posterity, you etched them on copper, on stone. And then for trade, where you needed crisp information, then you resorted to logos and seals. And for letters, then you used things like your cloth and so on. So we were smart enough to understand the need and the medium.
So there's a myth that Indians did not writing, it was all oral. It's a myth because Veda, Vidya, wit, wisdom, Veda was oral. All other texts, while you could know it by heart, by rote, they were written. Mahabharata is written, Ramayana is written, all the other texts, all the Sangam literature were all written. So we had writing and we had oral. Both were parallelly at the same time for the same student, same teacher, the same Gurukula, same Patashala, same Vidyalaya, same Vishwa Mahavidyalaya.
Because if you didn't have to write, there is no need for Akshara at all.
So if somebody says India had only oral, no, it's fundamentally wrong, because on basis of proper research, we can see that we had both parallel, valued both, and the specialists for both. That's what I want to bring out, the next point.
So we have addressed communication, subtle to gross, and mind as well as matter. But the beauty lies in how both the nature and the science that has been in this language, we have represented as a divinity itself for communication. And we have chosen Ma Saraswati. And look at all the different names of Saraswati. I mean, this is not all, I mean, just a few of them. But if you look at the names of Saraswati Devi, each one represents these distinct aspects of communication.
Saras.
As the whole reservoir of knowledge itself. Then as Vidya for the sciences and the insight.
Look at the English word wit, wisdom comes from vid.
And Vak for the words and the language.
Vak Devi.
Sharada for the writing.
The Lipi.
Veena for the resonance and the harmonics in sound. Vani for the eloquence in speaking.
So here one point. Who needs eloquence in speaking? A salesman. He needs to speak well eloquently, isn't it? Last 2 minutes. So what do you call him? Vanigan. Vanijyam. Because he has to have the eloquence to speak, sell his product to lands afar too, where he doesn't know the local lingo. Look at how he so beautifully termed it. So these are the nuances of science.
And Bharati and Shruti. So this is a language which has leveraged nature, it has applied science and kept it relevant for posterity with its techniques of writing and techniques of communication. And it's very ideal that now you're all planning to leverage the digital age because as Varahamira says, science is a body of knowledge that just keeps on growing. Evolving. So as we are evolving and moving into newer mediums, it's only right that you also move into the digital medium and use that as well for your preservation as well as reaching out to a far wider audience. And we wish everybody here all the best and we wish to gain from this particular venture that you're doing.
All this content involves short films, articles, books, blogs, everything is available in our website bharatgyan.com for freely accessible. It's open source. Please go check out all that you want. Substantial amount of information is available on these subjects. Thank you so much. Thank you once again to Ramesh Mahalingamji and all of you. So many friends here. If you name it, so they'll go for 10 minutes. So thank you so much for all of you for inviting us and being a part of this occasion. Wonderful. Namaskaram. Thank you.
That's colossal and enormous information put together. We need a big round of applause for Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Homa Hari. Ladies and gentlemen, after that insightful presentation, we take great pleasure in presenting to you 3 short films on the greatness of Sanskritam.
Did you know that Sanskrit has more synonyms for every word than any other language? Also, these synonyms are not mere words with the same meaning, but each of them have a specific meaning which help you to express yourself effortlessly and make a specific point. Precision is therefore a key element in this language. Many thousands of years ago, a thesaurus was written by a poet called Amarasimha, and the name of the thesaurus was Amarakosha, which is like a dictionary for Sanskrit. Let me give you a quick example. Take the word for fire in Sanskrit, Agni. Agni is a very commonly used word, but there are 33 other words with similar meaning that can be used for Agni. Agni comes from the root Ag, meaning to rise, which describes the property of fire which tends to rise up when it burns. The word Jvalanaha means that which emits light or that which shines. The word Sushma indicates one that dries, and we know that fire has the ability to dry things, and so on. By the time we run through all the words, we become well aware of all the properties of fire. There is no other language that has the reach and the depth of Sanskrit. Learn Samskritam the authentic way.
So, what is a palindrome, Anna?
A palindrome is a sentence that reads the same forwards and backwards. I'll give you an example. In English, you have the words civic or level. These two are palindromes.
Wait, I got a word. Madam.
Yes.
In Tamil, there's a word. Vikatakavi is a palindrome, is it not?
You're right. And in Hindi, you have Dhamma.
Ah.
And sometimes a whole sentence can be a palindrome. For example, Madam, I'm Adam is a palindrome.
Or was it a rat I saw?
Was it a rat as well? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right. Here is an example of a sloka from the 14th century compilation of verses called the Ramakrishna Viloma Kavyam, which was written by Daivigya Surya Pandita. This compilation has 40 slokas which can be read in both directions. Here's an example of one of the slokas. Tam bhusuta mukti mudara hasam vandeyate labhya bhavam dayasri, which means Sita, the incarnation of Lakshmi, who is affectionate towards a smiling lover, Sita's son. Now, if this sloka is read backwards, it becomes Sri Yadavam Bhavya Latoya Devam Samharada Muktimuta Subhutam, which means the teachings of Gita bestowed upon us by Lord Krishna, who by his benevolence draws the public towards him, destroy evil and are close to our heart. There are 40 slokas in this work. If we read the slokas in the forward direction, it deals with the story of Ramayana. And if we read the same 40 slokas in the reverse direction, it deals with the story of Mahabharata. So this kind of flexibility is possible only in Sanskrit and maybe to a limited extent in some other Indian language.
No wonder Sanskrit is called the Deva Bhasha. I don't think there's any other language in the world that has both the depth and reach of Sanskrit.
Absolutely. Learn Samskritam the authentic way. In 2018, Dr. James Hartzell, a postdoctoral researcher at Spain's Basque Center, did a novel test. He studied the brains of 42 professional Vedic Sanskrit Pandits who had trained for at least a decade beginning in childhood, and he compared it with the brains of average people. To his surprise, he found that the brains of the Pandits were substantially larger than that of the average person. The Pandits had 10% more grey matter in both the cerebral hemispheres. The right hippocampi, which deals with patterns, was substantially larger, and the right temporal cortex, which is associated with speech prosody and voice identity, was substantially thicker. Dr. Hafzal theorized that it was the intense memorizing of the Vedas and the slokas that caused the increase in the brain size. He termed this the Sanskrit effect. Is it not unbelievable? There is no other language in the world that has the reach and the depth of Sanskrit. You too can benefit from this divine language. Start your journey with the Madras Sanskrit College. Learn Samskrtam the authentic way.
Moving on. The digital campus was launched in March 2017 with the purpose of spreading the glory of this great language with the world and educating aspiring students. Through our digital campus, the Madras Sanskrit College offers several courses while charting a beautiful learning path. And now, for the landmark event where we shall unveil the new identity of our digital campus and display our new microsite. A commitment of our institution to spread the Sanskrit knowledge worldwide through a structured curriculum and robust methodologies. May I request our chief guest, Sri Suresh Raman, Vice President and Regional Head of TCS Chennai, and the trustees of the Madras Sanskrit College, Mr. Ramesh Mahalingam, Mr. A.R. Santana Krishnan, Sri Anand Madhavan, and Sri V. Srikant to please come to the dais. They will unveil the new identity of the digital campus and present the new digital campus microsite at the click of a button. It's now time to recall and reflect. Time to think back and bring back all the birds who've flown the nest, this big nest, and magnify the sharing of all experiences gathered all these years. I call upon Dr. C. Hariharan, Assistant Professor and Director of the Digital Campus. I call upon Dr. C. Hariharan, Professor, Assistant Professor and Director of the Digital Campus to come up on stage with his team of faculty and students to unveil the new alumni site. I call upon Ms. Anita and Shri S.P. Sudarshan to please accompany him to do the honors. I also call upon Dr. S. Aruna Sundaram, the Principal, to join this team.
I request Mrs. Anita to come onto the stage to launch the alumni site.
The alumni site is an initiative that they have embarked on to build a strong community of students and teachers to share and exchange ideas. Very aptly named Shishya Ganaha. A big round of applause for them again. We will now play a short video that will show you our structured learning path that we are so proud of and which makes our institution very unique. Presenting to you the tree of knowledge and our learning path.
Our rich legacy, coupled with the reputation for maintaining stringent standards in our processes and methodology, has earned us the highest level of trust in the field of Sanskrit education. The learning path we offer is seamless and systematic. Ankuraha, our most basic course for schools, is aimed at children between 4th to 8th standards. Starting from the alphabet, the course has stories, puzzles and conversation Sanskrit. Praveshika 1, our basic online course where one can learn to read, write and speak basic Sanskrit. No prior knowledge of Sanskrit is required. This course is taught in English, Tamil and Hindi mediums. Praveshika 2, an advanced basic course where one can learn other concepts such as Sandhi, Samasa, passive voice, etc. On completion, a student will be able to read classic Sanskrit texts with the help of a dictionary. Ramodantam, a basic work which covers the entire Ramayana in just 200 verses. One of the first pieces of literature generally taught due to its easy nature. Dakshata 1 or Advanced Sanskrit Part 1, where about 50 slokas of the Niti Shatakam will be taught in 50 lessons in Sanskrit medium. Dakshata 2, where we teach Laghu Kadambari Sangraha, an extract from Kadambari written by Bana Bhattaha. We also teach the 15th Sarga of the Sundara Kandam from Valmiki Ramayanam. Dakshata 3 contains other works of poetry and drama from famous writers such as Kalidasa and Bhasa. The completion of all three Dakshata courses will be equivalent to completing our on-site diploma course. Vyakarana Praveshika, where we teach simple Sanskrit grammar. This is taught in Sanskrit. Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudhi, a collection of 40 lectures by 10 scholars explaining Sanskrit grammar. Vedanta Dakshata is an introduction to Vedanta such as Bhagavad Gita and Totakashtakam. This course is taught in Sanskrit by 4 of our senior most teachers. Tarka Sangraha, a course taught in Sanskrit which outlines the basis of Nyaya or Tarka, the Shastra of logic. Nyaya is the basis for all advanced studies of Shastras. Vichara Sagara, a Tamil medium course which teaches a book on Advaita Vedanta written by Swami Vasudeva Brahmendra Saraswati. On completion, one will have a thorough understanding of the foundational concepts of Advaita Vedanta philosophy. Nyaya Siddhanta Muktavali. This is a series of lectures on the book Nyaya Siddhanta Muktavali written by Vishwanatha Panchanana. The Tamil Nadu government recognized Sanskrit entrance test is intended to bring students up to the 10th grade equivalent. Prakshiromani is a fully online and a University of Madras accredited course for Sanskrit students who wish to advance their learning equivalent to that of a 12th standard course. Sahitya Shiromani is a degree course in Sanskrit literature accredited by the University of Madras, which is taught in Sanskrit medium and is available online. Yoga Praveshika is an introductory course to the basics of yoga. This course will be conducted over 11 lessons where some of the basic asanas will be taught through demonstration. Hatha Yoga Sangraha is a course that teaches the work Hatha Yoga Pradipika written by sage Swatma Rama. This course lays out the basics of yoga as taught by Lord Shiva to Goddess Parvati. Yoga Sudhakara, written by Sadashiva Brahmendra, is a simple commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, making it easier to understand. In this course, all 4 chapters of the Yoga Shastram are covered over 15 classes. Panchangam is a brief outline of the concepts covered in the 5 basic parts of the Jyotisha Shastra. This is taught in the 11 lessons both in English and Tamil medium. Arambha Jyotidam is a beginner's course in the complete Jyotisha Shastra, which is taught in the Tamil medium over 40 classes. Learn Sanskrit the authentic way. Begin your journey with the Madras Sanskrit College today.
I now call upon stage Professor Sampadananda Mishra, Director, Center for Human Sciences, Rishihud University, Sonipat, for a talk on digital Sanskrit, Sanskrit texts in the age of technology. Professor Sampadananda Mishra is Director, Center for Human Sciences, and he also holds the position of Dean Culture at the University of Rishihud, Sonipat. He was Associate Editor of the collected works of Vasishtha Kavya Kanta Ganapati Muni, published in 12 volumes. In the year 2014, Shri Mishra founded Samskrita Bala Sahitya Parishad. Recently, Dr. Mishra has launched a monthly e-magazine for children in Sanskrit called Saptavarna. He is recipient of the President's Award, Maharishi Badran Vyasa Samman, Sahitya Academy Bal Sahitya Puraskar, and Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya recognition for re-engineering India by the Rethink India organization. Let us welcome Professor Sampadananda Mishra.
Namah Sarvebhya. It's always a challenge nowadays whether to speak using English or we speak in Sanskrit or in our own mother tongue or in the official language of India. But since the program has started with English, so let me use the English language to address to you all. Sanskrit texts and how do we preserve, disseminate using the technology. So I have been working in this field for a long time, and I use technology for the dissemination and for preservation, and we have created a lot of platforms. And let me share a little bit of journey of mine through this technology. In 2002, my first book was published. It's called The Wonder That Is Sanskrit. So most of the popular examples that you will be hearing a lot of times, they are taken from The Wonder That Is Sanskrit. And it was during that time I started working on a project called Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It is not that before that there was nothing digitally available on the Bhagavad Gita. There were few CD-ROMs. But I wanted a little more innovation in the presentation. So by 2005, I produced 2 CD-ROMs because that time nothing much was available to us except CD-ROMs. Now it is completely outdated. So this CD-ROM presented Srimad Bhagavad Gita entirely with word by word meaning, grammatical analysis. You can listen to the voiceover. You can read the commentaries, English and Hindi translation, and so many other features. Along with that, I started the digital version of The Wonder That Is Sanskrit and a short presentation on Avadhan Kala. That all happened by the time 2005. Moving ahead, I started going out of India to interact with many people, many scholars. And by 2013, I found that even though internet is available to us, but not much content is available on the internet for the promotion of Samskrtam. So in 2013, I initiated absolutely on my own and single-handedly. I launched on the 15th of August the first ever 24/7 Sanskrit radio called Divyavani Sanskrit Radio. This Divyavani Sanskrit Radio, till date, I am managing it single-handedly. Content is mine, resources are mine, technology is mine. Everything single-handedly I am managing for last 10 years. 24/7, anytime, anywhere you are, you can use your Alexa, Google Home, your television, your smartphone. Just say Divyavani Sanskrit Radio and it will start playing varieties of contents in Sanskrit. In 2014, I launched another program, especially to bring Sanskrit to the children of India, Samskrta Bala Sahitya Parishad. So we have a Facebook, very active Facebook page. If you go almost on a daily basis, we put some content which is available for the children. Rhyming songs, small video, conversations. Lot of posters. We have around 700 small posters which we have created, which are used by hundreds of teachers in India in their classroom while teaching at the primary level. 2016 was a remarkable year again, where we launched VMLT. VMLT is Vande Mataram Library Trust. The whole idea of launching this Vande Mataram Library Trust was to showcase that it's not, because there were people who were claiming that in India there are no scholars, they do not know how to translate. I mean, these were the news items on the newspaper, and Indian investors are investing money in the foreign universities, hiring foreign scholars to translate our sacred texts. So Vande Mataram Library Trust was launched to preserve our sacred texts using technology, using Indian scholars, not foreign scholars, and maintaining the authenticity. So I will just give you a little bit of presentation of VMLT website. How do I access the internet? Give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. I'll put the address there. Yeah. So in 2016, we started this vmlt.in. I'll just make a presentation of what we have created here. But in 2018, we again, the same content that you will see here, all of you use WhatsApp, right? Please save this number 93100. I'll repeat 93100. And you see the magic that you have it on your palm top. 93100 81872. 93100 81872. You can save it in the name VMLT. And then in the WhatsApp, just type OM. Then you will be guided. So it's a WhatsApp bot which we created in 2018. You just put the reference of the Gita, like chapter 2, verse number 53. Then it's available within a few seconds on your message box. You want to listen, put audio. You want the grammatical analysis of the words, put DICT, dictionary. So everything is, so same thing we have done for the Upanishads and for the Veda. You will be guided through, just type Om, and then you see what instructions you get, and then whatever you want, you will get it. So that's something we did it for WhatsApp users. It's called WhatsApp Bot 2018. Before anyone had started something like this, for the Gita, Vedas, and Upanishads, we did this. VMLT, one of the major works which we have taken up is NCC. NCC is a new catalogram, which is a project of Madras University. It's a 50 years project. So you can see here, we have given the entire credit to University of Madras. Our whole purpose was to digitize the entire 42 volumes. We did it using our own resources. We have not asked the government of India, any other organization. We have spent from our own trust and then digitized all the 42 volumes and then presented it here. Now thousands of researchers are using this website. I mean, there is also application which many people use all over the world. to get access to the content of new catalogus catalogorum. Otherwise, who will buy 42 volumes? Who will keep 42 volumes? How to search? And then we have made the search also absolutely very user friendly. This is one thing. Then we have books here, so that there is a portal called Digital Corpus of Sanskrit. So there are many texts which have been worked out. What we have done here, we have taken the texts from here, around 300 texts. So any text you want, say for example, like you go to Agni Purana and you select a chapter. So any chapter, say chapter 14, you select. Now you see the text will appear in this manner here, right? So you can say that, so what's so fun about it, that there are plenty of websites where you find all these texts. But now you click here on any sentence, so you will get that vakshe is from the root vach. And here you have the grammatical analysis of it. It is a verb, it is first person, singular, future tense. So that's the grammatical status of vakshe in the sentence, in the verse. Then second, you have buddhavataram. So it's a compound word, buddha and avatara. And avatar word, the total compound is it's a noun, it's accusative case, it's singular, masculine. Now if you want, like, what does avatar mean? What does vach mean? What does buddha mean? So you can click, then it will link to the dictionaries where you can get, we have used Aptesh dictionary. So you can learn from here what is the meaning of the particular word and learn the grammatical status of the word in the sentence, and then teach yourself Samskrtam and the Shastram, both using these tools. So 300 books like this have been worked out. You go to Upanishads. So here we have all the principal Upanishads, and this is the most popular site when it comes to Upanishads. No one has, there are plenty of websites on the Gita, on the Vedas, but on Upanishads you won't find many websites except this. We have 11 principal Upanishads plus 88 minor Upanishads. So how we have presented, like suppose you go here, so you get the major Upanishads, and so suppose you go Ishopanishad, you can listen to the entire Upanishad in chanting. So all the verses are there, like if you click on any verse, you will get the Devanagari version, transliteration version in Roman, Anvaya, the meaning in English and Hindi, and the glossary word by word meaning. So this is a simple presentation of all the Upanishads. And then in Upanishads, you will have a memorable lines, characters. So there are plenty of characters, hundreds of characters in the Upanishads which we have picked up, and whatever information was available about the characters, we have given small notes. Questions asked by the Upanishads. Now we see our whole tradition, Adhyatmic tradition, is a quest for knowledge. And this quest is an unquenchable thirst which continues. That's where lies the beauty of our tradition, Sanatan tradition. So here, if you go to the Upanishads, which are presented in a Samvada style, Guru and Shishya Samvada, the Shishya raises questions, the Guru answers, or Guru raises questions to the Shishya, Shishya unable to answer, then Guru answers. Like you go to Dalaka, Shvetaketu, or you go to Bhrigu Varuna, you go to Satyakama and Haridramata Gautama. So there are questions, Kasmin, and what kind of questions? Kasminnu khalu bhagavo vignate sarvamidam vignatam bhavati. Has humanity anywhere has asked such type of questions? So that was something very intriguing for me, and I have collected 350 questions from 250 available Upanishads and then presented it here. What kind of questions were asked during that time for which the Upanishads are answers? So questions from the Upanishads, quotes, Shanti Pata, and then stories from the Upanishads. So this is how the Upanishad is presented. Then the same way we have the Vedas. So here, suppose you go to Rig Veda, our whole focus is on Rig Veda. And they're presented like, suppose you go here, say on the first mantra, and there are plenty of other websites also which present this, but here we are presenting in the light of Sri Aurobindo. Like, suppose you click here, you will get into the Padapatha, you will get into the Samhita Patha, Padapatha, and then you have Sri Aurobindo's interpretation. Sri Aurobindo has translated or interpreted the first mantra itself more than 21 times. So he kept on experimenting on this particular. Then you have Griffith's translation, Kapali Shastri's translation. Kapali Shastri is the one who has written the Siddhanjana Bhashya, which was verified by Sri Aurobindo. And after Sri Aurobindo left his body, Kapali Shastriji stopped writing Siddhanjana Bhashya. When he was asked, he said, who is there to sanction? Confirm me that the meaning that I am writing is right. So every word of Siddhanjana Bhashya was verified by Sri Aurobindo. Then we have the Sayana Bhashya. Then you have Swami Dayananda Saraswati Bhashya. And so this is how the Rig Veda is presented. So this is what is our attempt in preserving the text, where we have taken this initiative to preserve the text with authentic translation, word by word meaning, grammatical analysis, and various other ways of creating applications. So all these are available on website, also available on as an application. So you can download, you can go to Play Store, iOS or Android. You can find Vande Mataram Library Trust, and all these applications are available, including NCC. So 2-3 more initiatives which I should mention. In 2019, a group of us, me, then there are 3 other people who come from a business background, because for me Sanskrit has to be linked with every walk of life. So I work with the entrepreneurs, startup mindset people, so then new ventures can be created in the field of Sanskrit to promote Sanskrit, and then combine both Sanskrit and business, Sanskrit and communication, Sanskrit and technology. So this interdisciplinary approach can help us taking Sanskrit to a greater height. So 3 entrepreneurs I met. So we decided that let's launch India's best language learning apps. And today we are India's best language learning apps called Language Curry, C-U-R-R-Y. So Language Curry is equivalent, because when I was advised by some of my friends that why don't you join hands with the Duolingo and then introduce Sanskrit through Duolingo, because Duolingo is one of the best language learning apps, pedagogy best all over world, teaching all kinds of world languages. But here our promise was that let's create our own Duolingo here. So Language Curry, content dissemination, it's entirely pedagogy based. So if you go to Samskrtam, there are 26 levels. Each level has hundreds of lessons, very graded, very structured. So after you complete 26 level, you are fluent in Sanskrit. So we have in 2019 till 2024 till date, we have 2.5 million learners from 180 countries learning Sanskrit. At the same time, we are not teaching Sanskrit in isolation, because I believe that Sanskrit has to be linked with all Indian languages. So through Language Curry, you can learn Sanskrit through Tamil, learn Tamil through Sanskrit. You can learn any Indian language through any Indian language. That is the kind of technology we have provided. So 12 Indian languages we are promoting, And we're also language trainer to all the IAS officers, IPS officers in the Masuri Academy. So we are the language trainer for them. Like someone from Uttarakhand comes to Tamil Nadu and then has to know Tamil. So language curry is the solution. So that's how we have created. These are my own initiatives. And another initiative is called devabhasha.in. That's also another website. So in 2003, I adopted a school for this pilot. So for me, I believe that Sanskrit, unless and until it is taught right from the childhood, it won't holds much value. So it helps immensely because the language is very highly structured, systematic, scientific. It helps immensely in the cognitive growth of the children. When the children are in their growing phase, if they are taught Sanskrit in a beautiful manner, pedagogy based, it helps improving their memory, their concentration, their observation power, their willpower, their original thought power, their logical thinking. It all happens automatically if Sanskrit is taught in a very structured and well thought out manner in the classroom. But the classroom teaching is important. So that's where we have created this Deva Bhasha curriculum. It's a textbook, 11 textbooks, where any school which is interested to introduce Samskritam from playgroup to class 8. So I don't tie up with the schools. If the school doesn't agree to teach it from playgroup to class 8 compulsorily. If they say that no, I say Sanskrit is not a consolation. You have to teach it compulsorily from playgroup to class 8. Then only we will help you. So we have the textbook, we have the audio visuals, all the mantras, shlokas and rhyming songs and everything that we have on the textbook. We have the digitized version of that, very professional recording we have done. We have a teacher's training manual, we have lesson plans, bridge courses, worksheets, and a teacher's training model by which we train teachers. And today, Deva Bhasha is being taught in hundreds of schools where Sanskrit we have made compulsory from playgroup to class 8. So this is another initiative. And I'll just give you one example, maybe 2 minutes I will take you. How do we link the way of teaching Sanskrit? How it can help children? See, most of the times the teachers complain that we have to complete the syllabus. So where is the time to take care of improving their memory, concentration and observation? I said, no, you don't need to do that separately. You have to integrate it into the way of teaching. I'll give you one example how the Deva Bhasha teaching happens. Say, for example, the children are familiar with the names of animals, right? You show them a picture, they will be able to say, Eshaha Simhaha, Eshaha Vyagraha, Eshaha Mayuraha, Eshaha Kakaha, right? Then we are teaching them Shashti Vibhakti in the entire curriculum, textbook, 11 textbooks. We have not used a single grammatical terminology. No Vibhakti, no Karaka, nothing. It's a language which is taught through, in a very natural way. So children learn the language, not the grammar. But every aspect of grammar, every part of speech is well taken care of through the content. Now the teacher goes to the classroom. That is where I have created, like around 1,000 different activities through which the children can be taught Sanskrit in a very fun manner. So now the teacher goes to the classroom for doing the revision of Shashti Vibhakti. Just remember the Shashti Vibhakti revision is happening. At the same time, triggering the power of observation is also happening. Now the teacher goes with 2 sets of flashcards or PowerPoint or whatever technology is available. Most schools do not have their smart board, so they carry the physical flashcards. So we show them the picture, okay, Eshaha Simha, Eshaha Vyagra. Then on the other side, we have the footprints of all the animals and birds. Please note that even the adults cannot identify the footprints because we never observe. Okay. So children will fail. So the question that we put, kasya padachinnam. Kasya padachinnam. They have to match, mix and match. They will fail. Now in the classroom, if the children are unable to say anything, you put a difficult question, then they lose their confidence, their interest. So that's where the teacher needs to apply the principles of education. So the principle of, one of the fundamental principles of education is from known to more known, from near to far, from what is to what would be. Okay. So from near to far, from known to more known. Now children will know, so teacher has to raise their confidence. So you show them the footprint of the elephant. They will immediately recognize it. And once they see it, they will say, Gajasya padachinnam, Kukkurasya padachinnam, Mayurasya padachinnam. So Shashti Vibhakti Abhyasa and triggering the power of observation. And whenever we have done this in the classroom, believe me, next day, the children will come, they will trouble the teachers. Shriman, uska मूंछ ऐसे है, उसका नाक ऐसे है, दांत ऐसे है, पूंछ ऐसे है. Because something is triggered in the children. Then we take advantage of this to strengthen it more. Next day, Shashti and Saptami Abhyasa, next week. So remove the tail of the rabbit, fix it in the elephant, elephant's tail in the tiger, tiger's tail in the kukkura. So we put kasya pucham kasmin. They will observe and say Shriman, kukkurasya pucham vyagre asti. Vyagrasya pucham gaje asti. Gajasya pucham shasake asti. So Shashti Saptami Abhyasa, triggering the power of observation. Similarly, we have activities for memory, concentration, logical thinking, original thought powers, and so many other things that we have developed to teach Sanskrit in a very fun way and helping the children develop their inner cognitive faculties, strengthening their cognitive faculties. At the same time, we are using the best technology available to us in the classroom for disseminating this text. So these are some of my works which I have been working for last 3 decades. Thank you for inviting me here and presenting my thoughts before you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir, for your yeoman contribution to Samskritam. One round of applause for Professor Sampadananda Mishra. Moving on to our next talk, learnings from Dharma Shastram to improve the process of present litigation. We have the pleasure of welcoming Sri Krishnan Venkatraman on stage. Sir? Sri Krishnan Venkatraman is an advocate and researcher in Dharma Shastram and has a keen interest in Sanskrit literature. He is a student of Nyaya Shastram under the late Dr. Piyush Kant Dikshit of the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Sanskrit University. He is a trustee of Satvidya Paripalana Trust, Chennai. He has a previous academic background in engineering with a BTech from IIT Bombay and an MS from Harvard University. He has completed his LLB from the University of Delhi. We welcome Sri Krishnan Venkatraman.
Namaha Sarvebhyaha. It's an honor to be able to place before you some of our experiences while reading the Dharma Shastram, especially our concurrent experiences as I'm a practitioner of law. And I would like to state here that this process of exploring the Dharma Shastram and our learnings that we are here able to share with you today has been an outcome of a process which involved multiple participants. So we have also been leveraging technology by way of interacting with a group of interested persons across the country. So we have a judge from Bihar, from Darbhanga. So he has participated in our daily sessions. We have a Sanskrit scholar, Dharma Shastram, Dr. Naveen, who is from Chennai and Kanchipuram. He has been participating. And we have one of our members, Mr. Mukundan. He is an advocate. He is also part of our Vitakshara study group. So the idea today is to be sharing with you some of our interesting learnings that we have gathered as part of reading the Dharma Shastram. And to this end, I can mention here, because today there was talk about the digital campus of the Sanskrit College and a number of facilitations that are provided by the Sanskrit College. And one of the offshoots from the tree that I saw growing out was introduction to Tarka Shastram, introduction to Shastram as such. And I can sort of confirm that reading the Shastram, accessing the Tarka Shastram, provides clear access to various other Shastrams, in this case, Dharma Shastram. So therefore, Tarka Shastram as a stepping stone to accessing the Shastram is something that I can vouch for, because I had benefited from the tutelage of my guru, late Professor Piyush Kant Dikshit from the Lal Bahadur Shastri Sanskrit Vidyapith, and I have definitely gained advantage from that. So the idea today is to provide you with some insights into what we have learned while going through the Dharma Shastram, trying to get an understanding of what Dharma or Dharma Shastram could be, and the kind of traditions that had been existing till quite recently. So till the British, when the British colonial enterprise started in the late 1700s, there had been an ongoing process of Nibandha Karanam. So therefore, from time to time, the propounders of Dharma Shastra, the practitioners of Dharma Shastram would update and discuss with regard to the current, the current social circumstances, what could be the understanding of the Dharma Shastram, and provide various opinions and discussions. And this process was ongoing till quite recently. Unfortunately, that process has sort of, we find a gap in the tradition that has crept in. And we believe that there is a sufficient space both for students of law, students of Samskritam to come together, especially in a forum like the digital campus of the Madras Sanskrit College, to bring impetus and rejuvenate that tradition which was part of our culture, which had continued for millennia, and which provided us with a guiding light to how we can govern ourselves. So therefore, any talk of decolonization or swatantriyam from within, we believe that understanding the Dharma Shastram and governing ourselves with a perspective that comes from within is something that we have to look into. So from this perspective, so Dharma Shastram, if you look into whether there is a particular text, because that is something that engaged the British when they came into India. They wanted to know whether there is one particular code, a constitution, a particular text that can be identified for the purpose of exerting their control over the population. So they started with, Calcutta or the Bengal areas, maybe Madras to a certain extent, Bombay, wherever the coastal regions where they started exerting their influence from. The attempt was to try to see whether there is a single text which they can adopt, maybe translate and use as a code, because they in Europe were used to codal frameworks. So they wanted to have laws, statutes as such. But whereas if you look at the Dharma Shastram, it is more like a forest. There are multiple documents, multiple sources of Dharma. And even in the Nibandhas, when you read the Nibandhas in their original, you find that there are references from various texts, not only from the Dharma Shastram. Dharma Shastram is primarily the Smriti Parampara. So you'll have various multiple Smritikaras, like the Manusmriti or the Yajnavalkya Smriti, Narada, Gautama, etc. So the various Smritikaras will have their input into how they see a particular situation. You also have the Smriti, which is based on the Shruti, so therefore there are also references to the Vedic texts itself. There are references to the Puranas, there are references to what are there in the Itihasas like the Ramayanam and the Mahabharatam. There are references to interpretation rules which stem from Mimamsa, Vyakaranam. So therefore the Dharma Shastram itself draws upon understandings from various other Shastrams. So the preservation and pursuit of Dharma, but what separates the study of Dharma or Dharma Shastram, we find is that the purpose is to focus on the preservation of Dharma. So therefore, out of the four Purusharthas of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, while the Artha Shastra might focus on valuing Artha or bringing Artha as the focus of the outcome of a particular process, here the outcome, the focus is on ensuring that the Dharma is established, and if there is any conflict between Dharma and Artha, it is Dharma that will prevail. So from that perspective, we find that there is a separate stream of study in the Dharma Shastram, primarily arising from the Smritis. So this is to... So one interesting, based on our readings of the Dharma Shastram, one interesting definition of Dharma that we came across in the Mahabharatam, in the Shanti Parva, this is the 259th Adhyaya in Shloka 20, is Yadanyair Vihitam Neched Atmanah Karma Purushaha Natat Pareshu Kurvita Janan Apriyam Atmanaha. So which is similar to what we understand is do unto others what you expect others to do unto you. That is one encapsulated understanding of what Dharma can mean. And this is after multiple discussions, rounds of discussions between Bhishma and Yudhishthira about different aspects of Dharma, what could be, is it karma, is it jnanam, etc. And this is one crystallized precipitation of the understanding of Dharma that we see in the Shanti Parva, which is inspiring from the view of understanding what is Dharma. So if you look at what is the living traditions of Dharma Shastram, the living traditions of Dharma Shastram, we see that primarily we find that wherever there was political patronage, say the Krishna Devaraya or the traditions in the south starting Krishna Devaraya or the Maratha Empire, so wherever there had been political patronage, wherever there had been a sense of putting it into practice, the understanding of Dharma Shastram for the purpose of governance, because Raja Dharma is an integral part of Dharma Shastram. And from the point of view of practice of law, we are interested in what is Vyavahara Dharma, because Vyavahara is the dispute resolution. And how we resolve disputes plays a driving force into how we organize ourselves. So if we have a law, for example, in our country, so it could be simple family laws like the Hindu Marriage Act or the Hindu Succession Act. So once that law comes into place, we end up organizing our lives around the law and the interpretations of the law by the courts. So similarly, the Vyavahara, how the laws were interpreted, how Dharma was interpreted, how the Dharma had to be given effect to in the courts, which had the power to implement Dharma, that had given rise to the sense of Dharma within the population, because that was the key driving force. So that we find it was flourishing as and when there were instances of political patronage to Dharma. So we had our own independent sense of organizing ourselves into political situations. That is when the Dharma Shastram was most effective. But today when we see that there are, out of the forest of Dharma Shastram that is available before us, there are questions as to whether we should adopt the entire Dharma Shastram today or whether we should have, our political sensibilities have changed today. There I believe even the Honorable Principal today when he mentioned that Sarvam Puratanam na Niravadyam, Sarvam Yad Arvachinam na Avadyam. That is, you cannot say that everything that is old is to be taken or translated into as a perfect instance of what we should take, and not that everything new should be discarded. So there we find another interesting shloka in the discussions of the Shanti Parva, which says, Ardhanashe samutpanne hyardham tyajati panditaha and ardhanashe samutpanne sarvam tyajati durmatihi. That is, if we are prejudiced against our own traditions, the first idea is to have a sense of shraddha towards the traditions. And then after that, looking into the Dharma Shastram, looking into the set of rules and principles as to how a society can govern itself, if we feel that something does not appeal to our sensibilities today, and if there can be a change or some portions can be left out, the Pandit or the person with Shraddha would seek to only remove those portions which do not appeal to the present context and continue with the other portions of the tradition. That would be the Ardhanashe Samutpanne Hyardham Tyajati Panditaha. But one who is prejudiced and doesn't have a sense of Shraddha towards the traditions would, with a prejudiced mind, want to seek to Tyajati, give up the entire tradition, which is something that we ought not to entertain. So the idea is continue with a sense of Shraddha, continue with a sense of understanding and towards our traditions, and accept what makes sense. And so therefore, the point being that study of the Dharma Shastram makes sense even today for the purpose of educating ourselves as to how we can organize ourselves more efficiently. So some important sources of Dharma Shastram that we have seen during the course of our study are Yajnavalkya Smriti, which is always stands out in the study of Dharma Shastram. So this is just to get a sense of how we ended up focusing our study on the Yajnavalkya Smriti, on the Mitakshara Nibandha. So there has been a Nibandha Parampara where scholars had been applying their mind to the understanding and interpretation of various aspects of Dharma. And in that, the Mitakshara stands out as something that has found acceptance throughout the land of India, except for some portions in Bengal and Assam where there had been a slight change in with regard to certain aspects like whether widows should get the property of undivided family or whether the property gets transferred on the death of a person or on the birth of a child. So there had been some small changes with regard to the understanding, difference of understanding between Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. But primarily we find that the Yajnavalkya Smriti and Mitakshara stand out as an instance of what we can today consider to be applicable law in the country that had been followed by various principalities across the country. Another aspect of literature that we find meaningful is the history of Dharma Shastram by Dr. P.V. Kane, who incidentally also received the Bharat Ratna for his efforts through his lifetime. So we find that as a country, we attach that sense of importance to the understanding of the Dharma Shastram itself, that a person who had devoted his entire life to the study of Dharma Shastram had been awarded with the Bharat Ratna. Then there's also the legal and constitutional history of India by Justice Rama Joyce, who in the recent times has worked to bring out the understanding of the Dharma Shastram and its applicability. And some interesting other literature like Appropriation and Invention of Tradition by Nandini Bhattacharya Panda, who as a keen researcher has brought out that till the late 17th century and 18th century, how the practice of Dharma Shastram had been prevalent in our community. That is, whenever there is a dispute within a family or between families within a community, the idea would be to go to a Pandit who had a good knowledge of Dharma Shastram and seek out an opinion. And that opinion, so the Pandit acts as an arbitrator. What we have today as arbitration, he would act as an arbitrator between the parties, and that arbitration would end with the parties accepting that opinion that had been drafted by the Pandit. And so therefore, it was an active part of our social organization till up to even the late 17th century or 18th century or so. So here, coming back to Yajnavalkya Smriti. So just to understand that the Yajnavalkya Smriti itself was probably composed around 2,100 years ago. So the period I've taken from Dr. P.V. Kane's understanding that he has reflected in his text. So around 2,100 years ago, we had a crystallization of what were the laws of India. And that had been practiced throughout India, although Yajnavalkya himself probably composed this in Darbhanga in North Bihar. But that understanding had been widely accepted throughout India, and we find that the Yajnavalkya Smriti was the accepted standard, although there were many other Smritis. The other Smritis would be the effort would be to try to reconcile it with the Yajnavalkya Smriti, which was the primary flow of understanding of dharma within the land of Bharat. And so there is a good detail on the structure of dispute resolution. Why we chose the Yajnavalkya Smriti is also because it had an expansive understanding of the Vyavahara, in the Vyavahara Adhyaya, of how dispute resolution takes place. And this text, because of its popularity, because of its adoption throughout the country, was cited, quoted, explained by judicial thinkers, and so we have a corpus of material which eventually crystallized in the form of the Mitakshara, where different opinions had been reconciled in around 900 years ago by Vignaneshwara in Karnataka. So a thought process which started, and also, sir, today you had mentioned that writing, whether we had the history of writing in India, we find that in the Yajnavalkya Smriti and the Manusmriti, so up to 2500, 3000 years ago, that is 1000 BC, there is definite reference to writing. That is, all the judicial records have to be written, the statements have to be written, the replies have to be written, the decisions have to be written. So therefore, definitely there was a strong tradition percolating down to the active units of society, trade, commerce, etc., where writing was definitely prevalent. So there can be no doubt about that, sir. So this Yajnavalkya Smriti is a good starting basis for trying to understand the application of dharma in India. So we have the invocation of the spirit of Yajnavalkya itself. Vedanta Vedyam Sakalagamagyam Daya Sudha Sindhu Mananta Rupam Shri Yajnavalkyam Paripurna Chandram Shrimad Gurum Nityamaham Namami. So in this salutation to Yajnavalkya, the second part of the first, this is Daya Sudha Sindhu Ananta Rupam. So this aspect is reflected in all aspects, in all parts of Yajnavalkya's writing, where his aspect of compassion, so Yajnavalkya as a perspective of compassion, where he, in his various expositions of how dharma has to be understood, he clearly brings out the sense of being a Dina Bandhu. That is, the weaker has to be protected so that Matsya Nyaya, that is the bigger fish swallowing the smaller fish, that outcome has to be avoided in society. Society has to be such that the daya towards those who are weaker has to be the driving force of the perspective of dharma. And that is why this dharma became prevalent throughout the country, because this was accepted by the people as part of their local behavior, and this was found to be an acceptable exposition for successful organization of society. Pardon? This quote, we ended up traveling to the place, there is a place in Darbhanga in Madhubani district in Bihar, where Yajnavalkyar's meditating, where he lived and worked. So he might have traveled all throughout the country. We have temples of Yajnavalkya throughout the country, but there is one place that is identified as where he sat and composed various works of his. So there is a temple dedicated to him. In that temple, we found this quote. So, interestingly, because since we are now in the land of Bharat, the second shloka of the Yajnavalkya Smriti is Mithilastha's yogindraha kshanam dhyatva bravit munin yasmin deshe mrugah krishnaha tasmin dharman nibodhata. So he is now concerned with expounding the dharma of that place, and he defines the geographical extent to which the dharma that is detailed in the Yajnavalkya Smriti is applicable. He defines us to be that place where the Krishna, Mrugaha Krishna, which is the black buck, the natural habitat of the black buck is supposed to be the place to which the Yajnavalkya Smriti dharma is supposed to apply to. And if you look at the map of the world, this is the only area where the black buck is endemic. You don't find the black buck in Southeast Asia, in any other continent. This is the area to which the black buck is endemic. And this is the dharma that is specifically suited for bringing out the best amongst us. So that the public, the population of the land of Bharat, which is encompassed by this area, which is also endemic to the black buck, our purusharthas, the individual's purusharthas in terms of dharma, artha, kama, moksha can be maximized. That method of organization is described in the Yajnavalkya Smriti. That is the understanding that prevails. So in this, we find that the Mitakshara, the second aspect, so reading the Yajnavalkya, because it's in a coded, cryptic, pithy form. The Yajnavalkya Smriti, to be understood, we require a Nibandha, and the Nibandha has been written in the Shastrik Parampara, and the applicable, the prevalent Nibandha which has found favor across the country is that of the Mitakshara. Mitakshara was written around 900 years ago. There is a Bhavanam, Mitakshara Bhavanam, which is dedicated to him. This is in Kalburgi. So something that started in Kalburgi is in Karnataka, North Karnataka. So something that started in Madhubani, in Darbhanga, in Bihar, it spread all across the country. There were multiple interpretations, and the efforts to bring out a meaningful understanding of the differing interpretations happened in Karnataka. So which it brings to us the understanding that the Dharma Shastram has applicability and it had adherents across the country. So different parts of the country have contributed to this understanding. So this is the basic structure. So I just wanted to just share some of our understandings of how there are aspects of the Dharma Shastram which we find parallel to in our regular practice of law even today. How we can understand, learn from, and how we can apply some of those aspects of the Dharma Shastram to our regular practice also, which is readily applicable, what is readily available. So this is the 4 steps of Vyavahara, which are the Bhasha, plaint, Uttaram, reply, Kriya, which is to lead evidence, and Sadhya Siddhi, which is discovery of truth. So these are the 4 steps that we still follow now. So to a large extent, when we go to court, when we initiate a dispute, these are the 4 aspects of dispute resolution. And these are described in great detail, and the principles thereto are also described in great detail in the Yajnavalkya Smriti, read with the Mitakshara. Similarly, how the judges have to be appointed, or how the members of the Sabha have to be appointed. Shrutadhyayana sampannaha dharmagnya satyavadinaha ragnya sabhasadah karya ripau mitre cha ye sama. So this understanding, some aspects which are meaningful to us, is that today there is a dispute as to who should appoint judges. Should judges appoint judges, or should the executive appoint judges? For example, we have a raging debate today in our country. And so there is some clarity, some direction provided there where it makes the ruler responsible for the outcome of every aspect of the country's governance. And so, therefore, there is a discussion and also detailed logic as to why the ruler is the best person who is, the executive has a right to appoint the judges. And so there is to that extent, there is something that we can learn, think about in our day-to-day understanding of how justice administration has to be given effect to. And justice is also open to scrutiny by peer scholars. So that is something that we see even today, and it is useful for understanding. And this is a point, sir, which I wanted to bring to your notice. Pratyarthino agrato lekhyam yatha veditam arthina sama masa tadardhahar nama jatyadi chinhitam. So there is a clear procedure for writing down aspects of disputes, writing down the plaint, writing down the reply. And this is recorded, this is part of the Yajnavalkya Smriti, which is 2100 years ago, definitely, and which is part of a tradition that had extended even beyond that. So therefore, we had a clear tradition of writing down and creating records, written records. This aspect of how the reply has to be. So this is something as a practitioner I find even today, that there are 4 types of replies: Sampratipattihi, Mithya, Pratyavaskandanam, and Prangnyaya. These are the 4 types of disputes which replies to a plaint that we find even now, which are applicable. But more interestingly, there is a detailed discussion as to, for each type of reply, who has the burden of proof, who has to lead evidence. If a reply is a direct negation of the statement of the plaint, then the person who is negating, he has to lead evidence. So therefore, there is a clear breakup of how the evidence has to be led. So this is something that is directly applicable to us even today. Similarly, one aspect that we find, which we have to learn from today in our practice of law, is that people cannot take the legal system for granted. And what we find, the procedure or the process that had been detailed in the Yajnavalkya Smriti is a provision for perjury leading to significant penalties. So therefore, one cannot take the statements made before a court of law lightly. Any outcome which proves that a wrong statement has been made or a false statement has been made leads to significantly high penalties which are equal to the amount of the claim itself. So that sort of cuts out the possibility of wrong statements. And the fact that chalam nirasya bhutena vyavaharan nayendrapaha bhutamap yanupanyastam hiyate vyavaharataha. So the primary point that has been brought to the understanding of the practitioners of law is that when you make statements, and this is something that we find applicable today, because when somebody goes to a court of law, the first attempt is to try to conceal the truth, to try to make it look as though we can try to play around with the system. So that is an instinctive aspect that has come into play today. And we find that the effort of the system there is a systemic effort to ensure that the statements have truth. Because if the statements before the court do not have the truth stated in them, the court cannot discover the truth. That's a simple logic. So that aspect has been mentioned here. And interestingly, there is a clear preference to avoid professional pleaders in the process mentioned here. So the parties directly deal with the court in a way. So this, for example, Pashyato Bravato Bhumer Hanir Vimshati Varshiki Parena Bhujyamanaya Dhanasya Dashavarshiki. This is an interesting shloka, 24th shloka of the Yagyavalkya Smriti of the Vyavahara Adhyaya, because this had become a great source of intrigue during the British period. So the British were trying to establish their law based on the Dharma Shastram. So the British were trying to interpret the Indian laws in a manner that would suit them. So the effort was to take away land from the zamindars and hand it over to the ryots so that the power of the zamindars could be reduced during the British period, especially at the time of Warren Hastings. So they had interpreted this particular shloka to say that the land, anybody with a 20-year-old possession of land would become the owner of the land. So that was an effort that was made. So therefore, there are political aspects to understanding how the interpretation of Dharma Shastram can be given effect to, and there are multiple interpretations. So there are interpretations that protect the rights of the owners. There are interpretations that seek to give land to the possessors of land, etc. So there is a variety of interpretation, and the effect of all of that, effect of reading all of this, is to understand that we have an indigenous method of understanding how legal aspects can be understood, interpreted, and that is a system that we find sorely lacking today in our practice of law. Because for all aspects, we seek the inspiration from various Western sources or from other sources, etc. Whereas there is a great source of legal discussion and legal dialectic that we can seek to source from our own studies, from the traditions of the Nibandhas that exist in the Dharma Shastra. So these are some of the aspects that we see, that the family as the unit of economy, because the family is the only unit that is producing further members of the society. That is, it is reproducing as well as making the economic basis of society. So that becomes a great portion of the great aspect of the discussion in the Dharma Shastram is Daya Bhaga, how the family and the family law with regard to distribution of property can be given effect to. So therefore, we have the aspect of Dina Bandhu, property rights of women being taken care of, and the woman and the Dampati being the basis of society. So therefore, we find that Dharma Shastram, its reading through an understanding of the Shastram is something that we lawyers can give effect to, and members of the society also should find interest, find interest in looking into the Dharma Shastram to understand where we came from and what is the soul of Bharat that we seek to find today. So we have been trying to conduct workshops, webinars, and study material has been created, and we believe that the efforts of the Sanskrit College, especially Sanskrit and beyond, digitizing these kind of dissemination of knowledge to a wider audience is something that is meaningful and should be given effect to, and this can be one of the directions that can be looked into for the purpose of giving effect to your objectives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that enlightening speech on the very need of the hour. It's time to pay a tribute to our ever-giving group of teachers who tirelessly work towards the commitment of imparting a deep knowledge base that is the heart of this very rich language. I call upon Dr. Hariharan to please come up on stage with the faculty members. Let us salute this entire team of amazing faculty of the Madras Sanskrit College.
ஸ்ரீ குருப்யோ நமஹ. இந்த தருணத்தில் நம்ம டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸில் ஒரு புதிய கோர்ஸ் அதனுடைய லான்ச்சை அறிவிக்கணும்னு ஆசைப்படுறேன். தந்திர பிரகாஷிகா என்ற பெயரை கொண்டு சைவாகம வகுப்புகள் அதனுடைய ஒரு தொடர்ச்சியாக இன்று முதல் இன்றைக்கி லான்ச் பண்ணுறோம். அதை சைட்டில் போய் பார்த்தா அது தெரியும். அதோட இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் டீச்சர்ஸை மேடைக்கு அழைப்பதற்கு முன்னாடி இங்கே வராத ஒரு சில டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் டீச்சர்ஸ் அவர்களை நான் இந்த தருணத்தில் ஸ்மரிக்க நினைக்கிறேன். ஸ்ரீ ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார், ப்ரொஃபஸர் ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார், ஃபார்மர் பிரின்சிபால் ஆஃப் விவேகானந்தா காலேஜ். ஸ்ரீ கே ஹரிஹரன், டீச்சர் சாவித்ரி அம்மாள் ஓரியண்டல் ஹையர் செகண்டரி ஸ்கூல். ஸ்ரீ கோபாலகிருஷ்ணா அண்ட் வைஷ்ணவ் கே அவர்களால் இன்றைக்கி இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமில் பங்கு கொள்ள முடியல. அவர்களை நான் நினைக்க விரும்புகிறேன். முக்கியமாக ஸ்ரீமதி சாருலதா மேடம் அவர்கள் காலேஜினுடைய ரிசர்ச் ஸ்காலர். அவர்கள் ரொம்ப ஒரு முதுகெலும்பு போல் நாட் ஓன்லி டீச்சிங்கோடு இல்லாமல் இந்த சிஸ்டம் லேர்னிங் பிளாட்ஃபார்மை மெயின்டைன் பண்ணுறது ஒரு அயராத உழைப்பு கொண்டு அவர்கள் நமக்கு சப்போர்ட் கொடுத்துட்டு வரா. அவர்களையும் இந்த தருணத்தில் நான் நினைக்க விரும்புகிறேன். டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் டீச்சர்ஸ் இங்கு வந்திருப்பவர்களை நான் மேடைக்கு ஒவ்வொருவராக அழைக்கிறேன். கிருபையா மஞ்சம் அலங்கிருத்திய பவந்தः அஸ்மத் சமர்ப்பிதம் ஸ்மாரக வஸ்து ஸ்வீகுர்வந்து இதி பிரார்த்தையே. ஸ்ரீமதி சீதா சுந்தர்ராம் மேடைக்கு வரவும். வசுமதி ராஜாராம் மேடம், குமாரி நவீனா அவர்கள், சுதர்ஷன் பார்த்தசாரதி, ஸ்ரீ BS ஸ்ரீகாந்த் சார், தந்திர பிரகாஷிகா வகுப்புகளை நடத்தி கொடுத்த சிவஸ்ரீ சோமசேகர சிவாச்சாரியார் அவர்கள். சிவஸ்ரீ சோமசேகர சிவாச்சாரியார் அவர்கள் நம்ம கல்லூரியினுடைய முதல்வருக்கும் குரு ஆவார் சைவாகம விஷயத்தில். அவைத்தலைவர் திரு சுரேஷ் ராமன் அவர்களை நான் பணிவன்போடு அழைக்கிறேன் வித்வான்களை கௌரவிக்குமாறு. டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸினுடைய ஆத்தென்டிசிட்டி, அதாவது பிராமாணிகதா அப்படின்னு நாங்கள் மெயின்டைன் பண்ணுறோன்னு சொன்னால் அதுக்கு முக்கிய காரணம் நம்ம கல்லூரியினுடைய ரெகுலர் காலேஜினுடைய அத்தியாபகர்கள். அவர்கள் அனைவரும் கல்வியாலும் வயதாலும் தவத்தினாலும் பெரியவர்கள். அவர்கள் அனைவரும் இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸினுடைய கோர்சஸ் நடத்துவதற்கு, அதாவது விசாரசாகரம் நடத்தி கொடுக்குற அடியனுடைய குருநாதர் பிரம்மஸ்ரீ மகாமகோபாத்தியாய மணிதிராவிட சார், அதிலிருந்து அவர்கள் துவக்கமாக கவர்மெண்ட் சான்ஸ்கிரிட் என்ட்ரன்ஸ் எக்ஸாமினேஷன் அது நடத்தி கொடுத்த ரீசன்ட் மோஸ்ட் டீச்சர் திரு வீரராகவன் சார் வரைக்கும் உள்ள அனைவரையும் நான் பணிவன்போடு நமஸ்காரபூர்வகம் அழைக்கிறேன் மேடைக்கு வந்து சமர்ப்பிக்கக்கூடிய ஸ்மாரக வஸ்துவை ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளுங்கள் என்று. அனைத்து அத்தியாபகர்களையும் அழைக்கிறேன். श्री संस्कृतं प्रार्थये स्मारकाचार्यान् प्राचार्यान् सम्मानयन्तु इति. இப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு சபைக்கு நன்றி உரை கொடுக்க வேண்டும் என்ற ஒரு கடமை இருக்கிறது. நன்றி உரை கொடுக்கறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான ஒரு காரியம். ஏன்னா ஒன்று தெரிஞ்சுக்க வேண்டிய பிரமேயங்கள்லாம் தெரிஞ்சுட்டு கிளம்ப வேண்டிய ஒரு அவசரத்தில் எல்லாரும் இருப்பாங்கிறது புரியறது. ஆனாலும் அடியனுடைய பட்சத்தில் குறிப்பிட வேண்டிய நன்றி தெரிவிக்க வேண்டிய நபர்களை நம்ம இதுக்கு பின்புலத்தில் இருந்தவர்களை தெரிவிக்கலைன்னா அது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்குமேங்கிறதுனால சற்றே பொறுமையுடன் இந்த நன்றி உரை முடியும் வரை அமர்ந்திருக்கும்படி பிரார்த்திக்கிறேன். முதன்மையாக திரு சுரேஷ் ராமன் அவர்களுக்கு தலைமை தாங்கியதற்கு இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமுக்கு மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அவருக்கு பல விசேஷணங்கள் சொன்னார்கள். அடியன் இப்போ கொடுக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிற விசேஷணம் ஒரு சம்ஸ்கிருத அபிமானி. அப்படிப்பட்ட அவருக்கு நான் மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ் சார்பாக கலாசாலை சார்பாக தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி இங்கே உரையாற்றியவர்கள்னு பார்த்தா முதல்ல ஸ்ரீ டி.கே. ஹரி அண்ட் ஸ்ரீமதி ஹேமா ஹரி அவர்கள் ரெண்டு பேரும் ஒரு அருமையான ஒரு கான்ஃபரன்ஸ்னு சொன்னால் இது மாதிரி ஒரு உரையை நான் பார்த்ததே இல்லை. இப்படி ஒரு ஜுகல்பந்தி மாதிரி எப்படி ஒரு வயலின் வித்வான் கல்பனாஸ்வரம் பாடுறான்னு வச்சுப்போமே, ஒரு பாட்டு வித்வான் அந்த ஸ்வரத்தை முடிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடி அவருக்கு உற்சாகம் இன்னொரு சங்கதி அவர் ஆரம்பிக்கிற மாதிரி அந்த அளவுக்கு இவா ரெண்டு பேரும் ஒரு திவ்ய தம்பதிகளாக எங்களுக்கு இந்த உரையை அமைத்து கொடுத்ததுக்காக அவர்களுக்கு மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்து, திவ்ய தம்பதின்னு நான் சொன்னது திவ்ய பாஷை தேவ பாஷையான சம்ஸ்கிருதத்துக்கு சேவை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிற தம்பதிகள்னு கூட நம்ம எடுத்துக்கலாம். அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். சம்பதானந்த மிஸ்ர மகோதயாக அत्र சமாகத்திய அஸ்மத் பிரார்த்தனாம் அங்கீகிருத்திய பாஷணம் அகுர்வன் तेषां संस्कृतक्षेत्रस्य योगदानं कियद् अस्ति इति वयं गणयितुम् आरभामहे चेत् इदं दिनमेव न पर्याप्तं भवेत्, क्वचित् अग्रिमदिनमपि न पर्याप्तं भवेत्. तथा महत्तरं योगदानं ते कृतवन्तः सन्ति इति ज्ञायते. अस्मत् प्रार्थनाम् अङ्गीकृत्य अत्र प्रवचनं दत्तवद्भ्यः तेभ्यः अहं नमस्कारपूर्वक हार्दिकधन्यवादान् अत्र निवेदयामि. अनन्तरम् अड्वकेट् कृष्णन् महोदयाः, அட்வொகேட் கிருஷ்ணன் அவர்களை அடியனுக்கு சின்ன வயசுலேருந்தே தெரியும். நான் படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கும்பொழுது அவர்கள் ஒரு வேத பாடசாலையை நடத்தி இருந்தார்கள். அந்த பாடசாலைக்கு அடியன் ஒரு சம்ஸ்கிருத அத்தியாபகனாக பார்ட் டைமாக சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்டு இருந்தேன். அவர் தர்மசாஸ்திரத்தை பற்றி ஒரு விஸ்தாரமாக சொன்னார். இன்னும் சொல்கிறதுக்கு நிறையா இருக்குது. பல மாதங்களாக அதில் ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கார். இதில் என்னென்னா இப்படி ஒரு விஷயம் தோன்றது, நம்ம ஒரு துறையை சேர்ந்து அந்த துறையை அந்த துறை மூலமாக நாம் பயனடைகிறோம். ஆனால் பல பேர் இருக்கா, இன்றைக்கி வந்திருக்கிறவாள்லாம் அப்படிப்பட்டவான்னு அடியனுக்கு தெரியறது என்னென்னா, எந்த துறையில் சம்மந்தப்படுறோமோ அந்த துறையை வளர்த்து விடணுங்கிற அப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு காம்பீரியம் அவர்களுக்கு இருக்குது. அப்படிப்பட்டவாளை தான் நான் இன்றைக்கி பார்த்துட்டுருக்கேன். இப்போது உதாரணத்துக்கு ஸ்ரீ கிருஷ்ணன் அவர்களை சொல்லணும்னா அவர் ஒரு 4-5 மாதங்கள் முன்னாடி, ஒரு வருஷம் முன்னாடி அடியனுக்கு ஃபோன் பண்ணி சொன்னார். என்ன சொன்னார்னா, இந்த மாதிரி தர்மசாஸ்திரம் அவர் சொல்ல வந்த முக்கியமான பாயிண்ட் என்னென்னா, சாஸ்திரம் தெரிந்த சாஸ்திரஜர்கள் இளைஞர்கள் இந்த சட்டத்துறைக்கு உள்ளே வரணும் அப்படின்னு. இப்போ கோர்ட் ரூமில் வாதாடுறதுக்கு தான் டிகிரி வேணும். அதை தவிர ஆர்பிட்ரேஷன் மாதிரி இடங்களில் அவ்வளோ தேவையில்லை. சாஸ்திர பிரபாவம் மிகுந்தவர்கள் இந்த துறைக்கு வந்தால் இந்த துறை இன்னும் நல்லா வளரும்னு அவர் அன்றைக்கி அபிப்பிராயப்பட்டார். அப்படிப்பட்ட அவர் அயராது இந்த தர்மசாஸ்திரங்களோடு அந்த சட்டத்துறையை இன்னும் வளர்க்க நினைக்கிறார். அவர்களுக்கு நமஸ்காரபூர்வகமான தன்யவாதங்களை நான் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். கிருஷ்ணசுவாமி சான்ஸ்கிரிட் எஜுகேஷன் ட்ரஸ்டினுடைய ட்ரஸ்டீஸ் எல்லாம் வந்திருக்கா. ஒரு சில பேருக்கு கிளம்ப வேண்டிய இருந்தாலும் பொறுமையுடன் இங்கே இருக்கக்கூடிய ஸ்ரீகாந்த் சார், மகாலிங்கம் சார், மாதவன் சாருடைய திருக்குமாரர் ஆனந்த் மாதவன் அவர்கள் அனைவருக்கும் என் நமஸ்காரபூர்வகமான நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி பல்வேறு ஸ்கூல்ஸ்லேருந்து வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய வித்யா மந்திர் சிவராமகிருஷ்ணன் சார் அவர்கள் குழந்தைகளை அழைச்சிட்டு வந்திருக்கார். செட்டிநாடு வித்யாசிரம்லேருந்து பத்ம பிரியாங்கிற மேடம் குழந்தைகளை அழைச்சிட்டு வந்திருக்கார். ஏஎம் ஜெயின் ஸ்கூலுடைய டைரக்டர் மிஸ்ஸஸ் மகேஸ்வரி அவர்களுக்கு நான் மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி ஏஎம் ஜெயின் ஸ்கூலினுடைய பிரின்சிபால் மிஸ்ஸஸ் ஜெயஸ்ரீ வெங்கட்ராமன் அவர்களுக்கு நான் நமஸ்காரபூர்வக நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். பத்மா ஸ்ரீராம், ஏஎம் ஜெயின் சம்ஸ்கிருத அத்தியாபிகா ஸ்ரீமதி பத்மா ஸ்ரீராம் அவர்களுக்கு நான் குழந்தைகளை அழைத்து வந்ததுக்காக மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்கிறேன். இந்த பத்மா ஸ்ரீராம் மேடம் அவர்களுடைய உழைப்பு எந்த அளவுக்குன்னா, அங்குரஹான்னு ஒரு கோர்ஸ் இங்கே அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணோம், இங்கே காமிச்சோம் இல்லையா, அந்த அங்குரா கோர்ஸு குழந்தைகளை உத்தேசித்து நடத்தப்பட்ட ஒரு கோர்ஸ். அது வந்து ஃபஸ்ட்டு தடவை, அதில் இன்னும் பரிஷ்காரங்கள்லாம் நிறையா பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கு. குமாரி நவீனா அவர்கள் தான் அதுக்கு கதையெல்லாம் சொல்லி அழகாக ஒரு கோர்ஸை வடிவமைத்தோம். அந்த கோர்ஸை வடிவமைத்தோன்னா ஏஎம் ஜெயின் ஸ்கூல் அதை எடுத்துட்டா, அந்த கோர்ஸில் இன்வால்வ் ஆன சொற்களை கொண்டு ஒரு நாடகமே தயாரித்து நாங்களாம் அதுக்கு போனோம். அதோட வெலிடிட்ரி செஷனுக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ் மேடம், நீங்கள் குழந்தைகளை அழைச்சின்னு வந்ததுக்கு. அதே மாதிரி அந்தந்த ஸ்கூல்லேருந்து வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய மாணவர்கள், உங்களுக்கெல்லாம் இந்த கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் வந்து யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருந்திருக்கும் நம்புகிறேன். யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருந்ததா? ஓகே, ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். நீங்கள்லாம் வந்து இந்த கலந்துண்டதுக்கு நான் ரொம்ப நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி संस्कृत कलाशालायाः छात्रेभ्यः ये अत्र संस्कृतमहाविद्यालयात् समागताः सन्ति प्रार्थनां कृतवन्तः एवं च अत्र अस्मिन् सत्रे उपविष्टवन्तः तेभ्यः सर्वेभ्योऽपि अहं धन्यवादान् निवेदयामि. एवम् अत्र இந்த வீடியோவில் வந்து நடித்து காண்பித்த ஸ்ரீ ராமநாத் அவர்களுக்கு நான் மனமார்ந்த நமஸ்காரபூர்வகம் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அவருடன் கூட வந்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு ஒருங்கிணைப்பாளராக, அது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான வேலை, இந்த ஸ்ரீமதி மதுவந்தி அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கேன். நம்ம காலேஜினுடைய அந்த நியூ லுக், அதுக்கு தேவையான கிராஃபிக்ஸ் டிசைனிங் எல்லாம் பண்ணி கொடுத்த ஷியாம் கிருஷ்ணன் அவர்கள் வந்து இந்த வீடியோஸ் எல்லாத்தையும் எடிட் பண்ணி கொடுத்துருக்கார். அவருக்கு நான் நன்றி தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். வல்லப நாராயணன் தான் நம்ம புது லோகோ, இந்த காலேஜினுடைய நியூ வெப்சைட், அதுக்கு தேவையான அந்த இதெல்லாம் தியரிலாம் எழுதி கொடுத்து ஃபாண்ட்ஸ்லேருந்து ஆரம்பித்து எல்லாம் பண்ணி கொடுத்துருக்கார். அந்த வல்லப நாராயணனுக்கு இந்த தருணத்தில் நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கேன். ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் அவர் வந்து நிறைய டிசைன்ஸ் கிரியேட் பண்ணி கொடுக்குறார். அவருக்கு நான் நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி இந்த புது நியூ லுக் வெப்சைட், அந்த வெப்சைட்டை டிசைன் பண்ணி கொடுத்த கிளாஸ்டிகான் அவர்கள் குழுமத்தை சேர்ந்த மகேஷ் மித்ரன், சந்தோஷ் நாயர், புகழேந்தி இவர்கள் அனைவருக்கும் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள் என்று நம்புகிறேன். மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள் ஐயா, நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி இந்த அலுமினி சைட் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப நமக்கு பயனுள்ளதாக இருக்க போகிறது. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் பரஸ்பரம் டிஸ்கஷன் பண்ண, அதே மாதிரி காலேஜிலேருந்து நம்ம கொடுக்கக்கூடிய நோட்டிஃபிகேஷன்ஸ், அறிவிப்புகள் எதுவாக இருந்தாலும் அந்த ஃபோரமில் தான் நம்ம அதை அவைல் பண்ண போகிறோம். அதான் சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, ஆச்சாரியாத் பாதம் ஆதத்தே பாதம் சிஷ்யா ஸ்வமேதையா பாதம் சப்ரம்மச்சாரிபியான்னு ஃபெல்லோ ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோடு சேர்ந்து இந்த அறிவு வளர வேண்டும். அதுக்கு நம்ம சம்ஸ்கிருதத்தை பற்றி கற்றுக்கிற விஷயங்கள்லாம் அங்கே டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணணும். அதுக்காக தான் இந்த அலுமினி சைட் சிஷ்ய கணகாவை நம்ம லான்ச் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். அதை அமைச்சு கொடுத்த அபினவ் அல்மாஷைன்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிற கழகம் தான் அதை அமைச்சு கொடுத்துருக்கா. அதை சேர்ந்த அபினவ் அண்ட் டீம் அவர்களுக்கு இந்த தருணத்தில் நான் நன்றி தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கேன். இந்த எம்எம்ஏ வென்யூ கோஆர்டினேஷன் பண்ணி கொடுத்த, இந்த டெக்கரேஷன் இதுக்கெல்லாம் பொறுப்பான சந்தோஷ் அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றி தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி மெம்பர்ஸ் அண்ட் ஸ்டாஃப் ஆஃப் எம்எம்ஏ மெட்ராஸ் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் அசோசியேஷன் அவர்களுக்கு இந்த அரங்கத்தை நமக்கு கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணி கொடுத்த அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றிகளை தெரிவிக்க கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி ஒரு குறும் நாடகம், அந்த நாடகத்தை போட்டு கொடுத்த பூச்சூஸ் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றி தெரிவிக்கிறேன். மன்னிக்கவும், அடையார்லேருந்து சங்கரா ஸ்கூல்லேருந்து வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய ஸ்ரீமதி கங்கா அவர்கள், அந்த ஸ்கூலினுடைய ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ். இது ரொம்பவே நல்ல விஷயம். இந்த ஒரு சௌஹார்தம் தான் நமக்கு தேவைப்படுறது. அதாவது நன்றி தெரிவிக்க மறந்துட்டோன்னு சொன்னால் ரெண்டு விஷயம். ஒன்று வந்து அவள் வந்து ஒரு சங்கரா ஸ்கூலில் சேர்ந்தவர்கள், அந்த பசங்களோ டீச்சரோ யாராக இருந்தாலும் அவர்களுக்கு ஒரு ஃபீலிங்ஸ் வராது, இருக்கட்டும் அப்படின்னு ஒரு பெருந்தன்மை இருக்குது. ஆனாலும் சொன்ன எனக்கு வந்து அது உறுத்தலாக இருக்கும். இப்போ நான் ராத்திரி நல்ல தூக்கம் ஏற்படாது. இப்படி ஒரு நட்பு, ஒரு சௌஹார்தம் இருந்ததானால், அதாவது சொல்ல வேண்டிய ஒருத்தருக்கு நன்றி தெரிவிக்க மறந்தாலும் அந்த ஒரு இது வந்து நம்ம மன்னிக்க முடியாமல் அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங்ஸ் வந்துடுறது. அதனால தான் நான் ஆரம்பத்தில் சொன்னேன், நன்றி தெரிவிக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு கஷ்டமான வேலைன்னு. இப்படி ஒரு நட்பு இருக்கும்பொழுது, இப்போ மேடம் வந்து ஞாபகப்படுத்தினா மாதிரி, இப்படி ஒரு நட்பு எங்கே இருக்கோ அங்கே வந்து ஒரு வாய் வார்த்தையாக ஒரு நன்றியை வந்து நம்ம தெரிவிக்க முடியாமல் போனால் கூட அது வந்து நம்மளை தாழ்த்தலை. அதாவது நான் வந்து நன்றி சொல்ல மறந்துட்டேங்கிறத ஒரு தாழ்மை தான். ஆனால் அது அந்த இதையும் நம்ம பெருந்தன்மையாக எடுத்துக்கிறோம். அந்த இதை நினைவுபடுத்தின மகேஸ்வரி மேடம்க்கு நான் மீண்டும் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். பிஆர் ஏஜென்சி பிராண்ட் வேவ் கம்யூனிகேஷன்ஸ் அவர்களுக்கு நான் இந்த இடத்துல நன்றிகளை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். அதை சேர்ந்த மிஸ்டர் விஜய் அவர்கள் இங்கே வந்திருப்பார் நம்புகிறேன். அவர்களுக்கும் எனது மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அதே மாதிரி ஆல் தி ஜேர்னலிஸ்ட் ஃப்ரம் மீடியா அவர்களுக்கும் நான் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி ஆன்லைன் கேம்பெயின்ஸை நடத்தி கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஆட்மாங்க் அதை சேர்ந்த பிரபாகர் அப்படிங்கிறவர் நமக்கு ரொம்ப பரிச்சயமானவர். அவருக்கும் இந்த தருணத்தில் நான் நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி இப்போ ரெண்டாவதாக எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் இந்த அத்தனை பேரையும் ஒருங்கிணைத்து ஒரு கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணி இவர்கள் எல்லாரையும், அதாவது இந்த நாடகமாக இருக்கட்டும், வீடியோவாக இருக்கட்டும், அந்த பிராண்டிங், இந்த லோகோ டிசைனர், அதே மாதிரி இந்த பப்ளிக் என்ன சொல்கிறது மீடியா, இந்த எம்எம்ஏ ஆடிட்டோரியம் எல்லாரையும் ஒருங்கிணைத்து கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணி கொடுக்கக்கூடிய பிராண்டப் கன்சல்டன்ஸ் அதை சேர்ந்த ஸ்ரீமதி உஷா ரமேஷ் அவர்களுக்கும் ஸ்ரீ அனிர்பான் தாஸ் குப்தா அவர்களுக்கும் இறுதியாக நான் மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அயராத உழைப்புன்னு சொன்னால் ஒரு 2 மாதமாக இரவு பகலாக அவர்கள் இந்த வேலையில் ஈடுபட்டுருக்கா. அவர்களுக்கு நான் மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக்கொண்டு இத்துடன் அமர்கிறேன். வேறு பிரத்யக்ஷ விதயா பரோட்ச விதயா வா अन्ये ये उपकृतवन्तः अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य कृते सामान्यतः च डिजिटल कैंपस कृते நேரடியாகவோ தூரத்திலிருந்தோ இந்த டிஜிட்டல் கேம்பஸ்க்கோ இந்த காரியக்கிரமத்துக்கோ யார் யாரெல்லாம் உதவி புரிந்திருக்கிறார்களோ, யாருடைய பெயரெல்லாம் நான் நன்றி மறந்து இங்கு குறிப்பிட மறந்துவிட்டேனோ அவர்கள் அனைவரும் என்னை மன்னித்து கொண்டு அவர்களுக்கும் இந்த நன்றியானது சென்றடைய வேண்டும் என்று பிரார்த்தித்து கொண்டு இத்துடன் அமைகிறேன். நமஸ்காரம்.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hariharan. Now that the conference has come to an end, we shall rise for the national anthem.
Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जगति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Lunch is served outside. Thank you so much for your participation. We look forward to seeing you again.